Hello, everyone. It's Zeke, your lovable rascal of a host. Welcome to the Baka Gaijin show. And with me, as always, is my inscrumpulous co-host, Kevin Faulkner.
I don't even know what that word means. You've stumped me.
I don't have time to think. I'm eating Culver's chicken strips. The best chicken strips in the fucking game.
I have had Culver's exactly one time. It was magical.
Mm-hmm.
I might have it again next time I'm up in the Ohio area.
You should. You should.
It was good shit.
Put it in your mouth.
Best we got over here down in Kentucky is like we got a Zaxby's.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Didn't we do that whole thing? Where I'm like, I don't believe you. That's not a real restaurant. I've never heard of that in my life.
We absolutely did that. And I'm like, I'm telling you, Zaxby's is a thing.
And then I looked it up, and it turns out they're only in like 7 states. No, they're in 13 states, but 7 of their locations are in Kentucky.
Yeah.
So it's like no one like this is a heavily localized chain. No wonder I fucking never heard of it.
It is, yeah. Zaxby's is good though. Not Culver's good, but still good.
So if you live in Kentucky and basically nowhere else, hit up a Zaxby's.
You might see.
If you live anywhere else, yeah. Don't take it personally if he doesn't respond to you though.
Yeah. He kind of can't hear you.
Yeah. That was the joke.
Yeah. So, Zeke, buddy, pal, friend.
Yep. Yeah, I'm all those things and more.
It's been like a week and a half since our last episode.
Yeah, it's true.
The fuck have you been up to?
Stuff and things, really. But I have a very serious request. Could you go first? Because I have a mouthful of chicken.
Okay, that is a reasonable request. I will acquiesce.
What the fuck is Ruben?
God damn it. Swallow, motherfucker. All right. Fair enough. So, yeah, last week, week and a half, it's been like, what, 9-10 days?
Something like that.
I have been doing a couple things. Not much, but a couple things. So, now that I have finished my rewatch of the main Gao Geiger series, I am mostly taking a break from that. And while I have watched the first 2 episodes of Better Man, which, yeah, that's an anime. That's an anime, all right.
It's actually Better Man, more like Worse Man.
More like Mediocre Man. It's actually fine. Like, first 2 episodes are pretty good. It's just there's very little that Better Man actually gives the viewer in terms of like solid information early on, that it's hard to really grasp whether or not it's a good kind of like, whether it's like setting up a good mystery or if it's just, really poorly written. I can't tell yet.
I can't relate. I'm very good at setting up mysteries.
But one thing I will say about Better Man is so this series has been released on Blu-ray, but the Blu-ray version in Japan is based off of the original standard definition masters. And holy shit, the original standard definition masters are dire. So like, oh my god. It's not even like true like it is in widescreen, but it's like letterboxed widescreen, so it's not like a proper anamorphic ratio.
Yeah.
Like it's got the black bars built into the top and bottom of the screen. And man, it is just full of like motion smearing, really murky colors, and just really, really bad compositing.
Aren't they called something different when they're on the top and bottom? Or is it the sides?
Yeah.
There's letterboxing, and then there's the other one.
Yeah. You're thinking of Yeah, letterboxing is top and bottom. Side to side is oh god, I don't remember the name for it, but yeah.
I'll look it up.
But yeah, the original masters are fucking dire. I downloaded the best looking and highest quality torrent of Better Man that is available, and it still looks like shit.
Oh, it's called Pillar Boxing.
Pillar Box. Okay, thank you. The only time I use the word pillar is referring to the Pillar Men from JoJo.
Aye, 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 aye.
Aye, 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 aye. But yeah, watch 2 episodes of Better Man, and I'm going to take a break from that because, wow, that's a lot to take in. And instead, I have watched the first season of Symphogear. Symphogear, man, that is a fun show. First season is rough in terms of its production and a couple elements of the writing. Like, there's it has a really strong start and a really strong finish. But, like, the middle section has some kind of messy writing, and it's very clear that the people behind the series they had a lot more plans for the first season than they could feasibly do in only 12 episodes. Or is it 13? I think it's like 13 episodes.
It's usually one of those 2 numbers.
Yeah, so it's very clear they had a lot of ideas for what they wanted to do, but couldn't feasibly do them in the time given to them.
Yeah.
So a lot of different character arcs. And so like a couple of character arcs and some elements of the plot progression just kind of happen, and there's no real like gradual escalation of how things progress. It just kind of happens. So that is kind of weak in terms of, you know, how it's done. But Symphogear in general is a really fun show. Me and Sarah are actually going to watch the second season, Symphogear G, together. Because he wants to watch at least one season with me, so he can see my reaction, so he can like see or hear my reactions.
I'm familiar with that inclination.
So yeah, you and I did that with Danganronpa, but like all the games, and that was fun. But yeah, Symphogear. The best way I can describe Symphogear is if you took 2 parts Lyrical Nanoha, 1 part Macross, and sprinkled a bit of Kamen Rider into it.
I'm familiar with none of those things, so you just described a truly incomprehensible dish.
Yeah, but it's amazing. It's pretty fun. I do highly recommend Symphogear. It's
I heard
great.
It's the brainchild of Katsura Ono, isn't it?
I have no idea who the fuck that is.
Katsura Ono directed 5Ds in Arc 5, but he was also, I think, one of the big people behind Symphogear, I think.
It's entirely possible because, like, it does have, like, a little bit of that kind of cyberpunk-y vibes in a couple of areas. It does have a little bit of that going on. Highly recommended, though. And because Star Wars Visions is coming out later this week, and because Star Wars Visions is coming out, I have been in a big Star Wars mood. I am going through the movies again, and last night I watched The Phantom Menace. Last time I watched Phantom Menace was a really, really long time ago. So the last time I watched Star Wars to lead up to another Star Wars thing was Force Awakens. And even then, I only watched the original trilogy and... I only really watched the original trilogy and Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's a sequel to the original trilogy.
Yeah.
So it's been a very, very, very long time since I last properly watched Phantom Menace. And having seen it again, you know, a good 22 years removed from its original release, I'm gonna have to be real with you. Phantom Menace.
Yeah. Yeah?
Kind of overhated.
Okay.
Just a little bit. Now, I'm not going to call Phantom Menace great.
Yeah.
And I would even hesitate to call it quote-unquote good. But I did not dislike watching that movie again. I was actually pretty entertained.
Yeah.
I think what helps is going into the film with proper expectations. Because I think a lot of people went into Phantom Menace back when it originally released, and this is kind of carried over throughout, the entire lifetime of this film.
Yeah.
20 plus years. Is people were going in and they were expecting the original trilogy again. They were expecting something that was like what they grew up with. They were expecting something that, was much different than what they actually got.
Yes.
And admittedly, there are reasons to dislike this movie. I'm not going to pretend that there are not. A lot of the acting is very, very stilted. Some of the dialogue writing is really bad. Though I would argue Attack of the Clones has worse dialogue writing. Yeah, some of the effects don't really hold up to modern scrutiny, but it was 1999, and it was the first time that, like, a lot of this stuff was being attempted in a movie, so, like, I can't really fault it too much. George Lucas was being very ambitious. But that's another thing, like, it's still a very ambitious film. It has a lot of great ideas. And the thing is, a lot of people call the movie, quote-unquote, overly complicated. But honestly, watching it back, it's actually got a fairly standard plot structure. You have your A plot and your B plot, and they kind of intersect between the two of them. It's just that the A plot, which is the stuff regarding, trade disputes and, the mystery of who the Sith are and, who's
I think it comes down to two things, and it's that number one, it begins with a monologue about politics.
It does.
And number two, it has 4 different climaxes that intersect all at once.
It kind of does, and I will admit it does kind of result in a finale that kind of spikes multiple times.
Yeah. There's just a lot going on. It's a lot for an audience to follow, I think, because there's that was a big focus of the Red Letter Media video that you never watched because you're a fucking loser. Is having 4 endings, and even at the time in like the test screenings, the editor was like, and like everyone in the room but George was like,
Yeah, George was like, yeah.
Actually, George actually kind of regretted it a little bit too. He was a little bit more stoic about it. He was just like, well, I think they'll come to appreciate it. He was just, I think in his mind, and as a writer, I get this. Sometimes we kind of get caught in the, well, I did what I had to do sort of mentality.
Yeah.
We're like, you're not 100% sold on something you just did, but like in your mind, you couldn't, like, you put all the thought into it you could, and you didn't see any other way around it. But like, obviously people with outside perspectives can look at it and be like, well, why did you set things up that they would be this way? But like, writers don't usually think like that. Like, it's hard to like strip away all the things you've planned and like address like root issues.
Yeah.
It's generally easier and more feasible, and also just what comes to your mind to sort of alter the things that are already there to better suit the direction you want to go in. But when it's like, I think anyone who creates things has a similar process, like architects or whatever, when they design a building and there's like central flaws, rarely will they go, okay, time to scrap everything I just planned and reset the foundation. No, they're gonna patch it up. They're gonna work around the problem rather than rip it out and try to make it not exist in the first place. So I think it was one of those situations.
Yeah, and you bring up the editing, and I do think that's a fair point to make. I do think the film could have benefited from a different approach to the editing, because there are a lot of scenes that do drag on a bit. and there are a couple of like explanations and like expository scenes that could have been significantly cut down or removed altogether, and you would have like kind of missed very little in the actual story. And I think I think, using different takes probably could have helped with like the emotions of certain scenes. Because I am fairly certain that there are better takes of this movie lying around in Lucasfilm's vaults, but we haven't seen them. But there is actually, but that does remind me that, like, I think during like either Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith, there's a behind the scenes documentary thing where it shows Hayden Christensen giving like a really good read on a line.
Yeah.
And then George Lucas directs him to read it worse.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly the one you're talking about.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure there are better takes and better line reads for Phantom Menace that were done. It's just that George Lucas took the takes that he preferred, which were the ones that, had more stilted direction.
It's like, well, I mean, like, films are complicated, and I feel like, we're not directors, and there might have been something to those cuts that we didn't see that he saw.
Yeah.
There could have been other reasons why he preferred the cuts that he did, but who knows?
Well, a lot of Star Wars is based on old like film serials he grew up with, like Flash Gordon. So
yeah, in the fucking 40s.
Yeah, so he probably went with the takes that kind of gave him the same feel as those old serials he grew up watching, rather than the takes that actually had like real emotional weight behind them.
Yeah.
So like it was probably just a very personal choice.
Yeah, and that's always been interesting because when you look at like early film and television acting, it's a weird thing because it takes a lot of cues from stage acting.
It does.
Which is kind of a different beast, and they have a different set of standards and expectations all around. But it's not exactly like. Actually, it's hard to judge, I feel, because when you think about it, the film and TV acting at the time was taken heavily from stage acting, but nowadays, if you think about it, our stage acting is probably more influenced by TV and film, because you got to think like the average young up and coming actor has probably seen more film and TV than they've ever seen stage plays, even if they're into stage plays. It's just more accessible, So I feel like we might have gone whatever the opposite of a full circle is, a scattered line. I don't know, but like it's flipped on its head, where like our stage acting isn't comparable to that stage acting, because now our stage acting is influenced by film and television.
Yeah.
That morphed over time from a film and television acting that was influenced by original stage acting. I guess what I'm trying to say is that people want different things for different mediums and stuff.
Admittedly, but like, my point here is that overall, I don't think Phantom Menace is actually quite as bad as a lot of people like make it out to be. At the very least, Phantom Menace actually does have a lot of really good elements in it. The basis of the story is actually pretty solid. It's, the beginning of Anakin Skywalker's story. The entire Star Wars, saga is based around Anakin when you get down to it. So, starting off when he is a child as a slave on Tatooine, and showing him, being adopted by the Jedi and going into training and watching his growth makes a lot of sense.
The very important note that he came into it too old to be truly indoctrinated.
A little bit, yeah. And that ultimately,
which paints a different picture when you think about it. Really,
it does.
That the Jedi are so reliant on getting Force-sensitive children super young to basically indoctrinate them, honestly. And they have this whole mantra against older children because you can't, at that point, that there's too much of an identity that's been founded. And I think you see that throughout all of media Anakin's in, really.
Gosh, it's almost Gosh, it's almost like the Jedi Order was based on a flawed, outdated mentality.
If only we could subvert the status quo, but then return to it randomly at the end.
God.
Can we have a whole movie that teases that we're going to break the status quo only to return to it at the end? That'd be great. And then people can call it subversive anyway because they pretended to be for a few minutes. Ryan!
Y'all know what the punchline is. We don't gotta explain it. But yeah, the basis of the story is good, and we still have a lot of really cool lore elements that are introduced. The film is still very visually interesting. I like a lot of the locales that we have, like Theed. It's cool seeing an older, more populated Tatooine.
Yeah.
The pod race is still a shitload of fun, and
I'm sorry, what is Theed? Theed's the capital in Naboo, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Also, you get the Gungan city, which which is also very unique architecturally.
God, I freaking love the look of Otogunga. That is such a cool design. Even when I was a kid, I was like, "Damn, that looks cool." And even as an adult, I'm like, "Damn, that looks cool."
Yeah, I think, in a nutshell, I think there's little conceptually wrong with the prequels. It's all in the execution that things are messy.
Agreed.
But I think the one thing that can't be denied is that George really expanded the world and setting to be more unique and more complicated element. Like, honestly, 90% of the world building in Star Wars comes from the prequel era.
Yep. And I think it also helps to have a better perspective on what the prequels did right versus what the sequels did wrong. Because the sequels were built on far flimsier pretexts, on pretenses than the prequels were, and it turned out a lot worse. So, like, let's put it this way: when the prequels were spun off from, and we got stuff like the various versions of Clone Wars, the video games, the Republic Commandos, and the
Knights of the Old Republic, yeah. Although that took a lot of influence from the comics, but whatever.
But like, it resulted in some of the best Star Wars media we have. Now, when writers were given the sequels to spin off from, we get shit like Star Wars Resistance that nobody remembers or cares about, and is generally
right, yeah.
It really shows how creative and how much was actually introduced to Star Wars meaningfully through the prequels versus the sequels, and it kind of makes the prequels come out looking better by comparison.
It's gotten to the point where they've gone back to that well with Clone Wars Season 7 and the Bad Batch and whatnot.
Yeah, and a lot of Star Wars Visions stuff is actually based in the prequel era and the era in between the prequels and the original trilogy.
Probably because that's a lot of these young animators. That's what they grew up knowing Star Wars as.
Yeah.
So.
Of the various shorts in Star Wars Visions, only 2 of them take place at any point in the sequel trilogy, and both of them are after The Rise of Skywalker. It's like they're not trying to do anything that takes place during that trilogy. They're not trying to bridge over between the original trilogy and the fucking sequel trilogy. Nah, they're just like, we're gonna just fast forward a bit and remove ourselves from that.
I think conceptual. I want to go back to the settings thing for a second, because I feel like one of the most, people bitch about too much green screen or whatever, but take a step back and realize that the original trilogy was very much confined to the kinds of places they could film in. They had a desert. They had a desert planet because they could film in a desert. They had a ice planet because they could film in the tundra or whatever. And they had a forest planet because they could shoot in a forest. But when you get to the prequels, you got things like an underwater city. you got things like that one planet in Revenge of the Sith that's like giant pits in the ground. It's like entire cities that are just like drilled into the ground, and you got shit like Geonosis, which is so much more than just a simple desert, because it's got very unique ecology in this cave system, because they're insectoids or whatever.
Yeah.
And you go into some expanded stuff like planets that are like composed of giant flora, there's several like that. I think whatever the one you visited in Force Unleashed I'm thinking of, with the giant plants and whatnot.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
So like the advancement of technology really allowed him to, and even something like Coruscant like wasn't possible in the original trilogy days.
Yeah. And when the sequel trilogy was being produced, I will give the conceit that it is cool that they tried to bring in more elements of practical effects work and location scouting, but ultimately it just ended up in a situation where visually most of the sequel trilogy is just rehashed from the original trilogy, and whatever new that they bring up isn't actually that interesting. It's like, oh hey, we have Jakku, which is basically just another Tatooine, and in The Last Jedi we have fucking Space Vegas.
Yeah, their big idea for a planet was there's a casino on it.
Yep.
Okay, I guess.
So how is space? How is a fucking space casino more?
I'm gonna be
supposed to be taken more seriously and is less goofy than a fucking space dive bar from the prequels.
Yeah. My thing is that like even by space casino standards, it feels pretty fucking limp, honestly.
It does. They could have gone way wilder with it, but they didn't. It's just Vegas with weird animals.
Yeah. It's I was gonna say, what's a good space casino is the Handsome Jackpot in Borderlands 3. That's a good space casino.
Well, I haven't.
Granted, it's like a station and not like a planet. But like when you go Future Casino, go Future Casino. Don't not go Future Casino. And I don't feel like they went Future Casino enough. Like they had like weird looking, vaguely casino looking games and stuff played in the background or whatever. But like I don't remember that location in any severe detail.
Yeah.
Like there was a coastline, and there was a casino.
Yeah.
And it looked not that, aside from the aliens, it looked like any casino you could find here.
Yeah, and
not even like especially future-y in any real way.
Yeah, that's a really big issue visually with the sequels, is just that lavish adherence to trying to like, keep to the boundaries of what the original trilogy was built off of, ended up restricting them a lot more than what they should have needed to do. Like they were really limited in what they could do because everything had to be like a location.
It's an ice planet, but now there's red stuff underneath it.
I believe that's actually salt.
Yeah. To be fair, it does look nice.
It does.
But like
it does, admittedly.
Yeah, that's the one cool idea they had. Is like, what if it was white, but there was like red stuff underneath the white stuff? So when they skim across the white stuff, you see the trail of red stuff. We can make a whole poster based on that.
And then, like, admittedly, that does result in a really damn cool shot, where, like, Luke Skywalker is there, and like all of the kicked up sand or whatever kind of looks like just blood strewn across a battlefield. Like, it's actually a really cool, like, visual.
Clever.
Like, it's very.
Now I'm just remembering.
It's a symbolic thing,
now I'm just remembering. Now I'm just remembering how Disney told Respawn they couldn't have Cal chop off human limbs in Fallen Order. So a lot of the enemies are robots because then you can chop robots. It's like the Samurai Jack thing, where like it's like he can't cut up humans, but he can cut up robots and spill oil blood.
Dude, fucking Phantom Menace is rated PG, and Darth Maul gets cut in two.
Yeah, I don't know. But that was pre-Disney, though. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
It's also pretty. It's also a very bloodless cut in half.
It is, admitted. Like, there is a brief, like, spurt of, like, red mist.
Yeah. To be fair, though, you have to imagine that lightsabers pretty much instantly cauterize whatever wounds they make.
They do. They do.
So.
Then again, like, the ESRB is weird in terms of what they allow in content, because, like, you can...
Well, no, it's not the ESRB. It's not the ESRB's fault. It's fucking... That was a mandate from Disney.
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I'm just saying the effect is that when you're wailing on stormtroopers or whatever, it feels less like a lightsaber and more like a flashy baton.
Fair enough. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. What have you been up to?
Oh my god, I forgot this wasn't a Star Wars podcast for a second. I actually have to talk about things. Well, just today I got my new... I ordered these Audio-Technica MSR 7s that I'm wearing right now.
Audio-Technica is a really, like, fairly high-end audio brand.
Yeah, the more reputable brands, Audio-Technica, Beyerdynamic, Sennheiser, those guys. And this normally retails for, I think, around $250-ish, but I got it on Mercari for like 110, so it was a really good deal.
Yeah, I'd have jumped on that personally, so I can't blame you.
Yeah, so yeah, this around that level, around 250 to 300-ish, that's about the most I can recommend that any casual audiophile spend on a pair of headphones, because after that you kind of hit diminishing returns where you're paying exponentially more, but you're not going to see a huge difference unless you're using them for very specific purposes.
Yeah.
You know, when you hear people talk about their $1,000 headphones or whatever, you know, those are the people that like have a music listening room and they're like, you know, they have the open back headphones, you know, and they're trying to like emulate. That's one thing I don't get is that some when I was looking at reviews for this headphones, like, well, it sounds like the sound is coming from your head, and I'm like, well, that's kind of what I want. I don't want those like big open back headphones that like emulate you're in an orchestra hall or something. Like that doesn't really appeal to me. Like, I understand the importance of good soundstage, but like, I don't want to pretend I'm in an orchestra hall. That's not really what I'm after.
Yeah. So
there's a bit of a diminishing returns here where you can get better quality, but it's going to cost exponentially more and you're not going to appreciate it quite as much. And it even gets to this point at around this price level where the importance of good mixing comes into play, because better headphones will reveal worse mixes. And there are some entire genres of music. I'm not trying to say anyone's like bad at mixing music or whatever, but like some genres are like more intentionally muddy or whatever. Yeah. And they might not sound as good on headphones like these because they weren't really made for it. You know, some people may be more derogatory and say like there are genres of music that are made for cheap earbuds, and I'm like, I don't know if I go that far, but you know, I get their point.
It's a good point, but it's just made really, really poorly to the point where it's like almost insulting to the original music producer.
Yeah. But yeah. So I'm breaking these in. Like, you know, high-end headphones, they're kind of like shoes. You got to break them in. You know.
I guess.
Yeah, because right now, like, the clamp feel is a little tight, and the whole thing's a little stiff and rigid.
Yeah.
And I'm getting used to the new sound, to a different sound signature than what I normally use on my HyperX Cloud 2s, which I really like. Yeah. And they still work fine, but they are getting up there in age. I need to replace the cuffs because the cuffs are falling apart a bit. But
didn't you get like the HyperX 2s like 5-6 years ago or something? Holy yes, but shit, can the kids not scream like that? God.
Yeah. Yes, but this isn't the same pair I got. I've gone through like 3 different pairs of those. One, because one stopped working and I got it replaced under warranty. No, I think this might be my second. I don't remember. I think this is my second. Yeah, I definitely got one replaced under warranty. But so I've technically had 2 Cloud 2s.
Yeah.
But Yeah, and I'm still going to use it because they still work great. Although I might have to replace the cuffs. But it's one of those things where it's like, because replacement pair of cuffs is like $25, and it's like one of those things where it's like, man, do I really like? It's not super expensive, but it's just expensive enough where you're like, do I need to replace these cuffs? You know, it's like one of those annoying, like slightly more expensive than you would have liked sort of deals.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Sorry, I was listening, but I was like texting at the same time. Don't worry about it.
Of course. Well, Kevin, we're driving on the cosmic highway. You shouldn't be texting right now.
Ah, right. Sorry. I don't want to get pulled over by the space police.
It's okay. I'll take the wheel for a bit.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're my designated driver.
Yeah, we got the cool spy car shit where we lean back and the seats just swap places.
Good.
Yeah, and I'm getting used to a different sound signature because these MSR7s have a flatter, kind of colder sound signature than I'm used to.
Yeah,
and I can hear they have really good spacing and instrumentation though, so I can hear when I've listened to a little bit of music. Every layer of the music is a lot more clear to me, but that is definitely a bit of a difference from what I'm used to. Whereas with the Cloud 2s, and the Cloud 2s are a good pair of headphones, but you know, they don't have the same spacing, so the sounds kind of meld a little bit more.
Yeah.
Whereas it's a little bit more clinical, a little bit more I can hear the individual beats and instrumentation and whatnot. And it's not better or worse. It's a matter of taste, and it's something you have to kind of adjust to. And when you get to this level, it's actually there's a reason like our headphones people have like a collection of like 6 different pairs of headphones or whatever. Yeah. And it's because legitimately there really is no such thing as a one size fits all pair of headphones when you get to this level. Everything's got different ranges and different specialities.
Yeah.
And they're better for different things. And if you like a wide variety of use cases and music and whatnot, it helps to actually have multiple pairs that have slightly different sound signatures. Although these are going to be pretty great for gaming though, because they have such accurate sound staging.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be really good for like a very immersive like RPG or adventure game, so that like you can actually. So that like you can actually hear like better directionality. It would probably work really well for like a competitive game too, because like to compare, I play a lot of Halo, and I can imagine that those kinds of headphones would be really good for trying to pinpoint like the directionality of where people are relative to me in a match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not like my Cloud 2s are bad at that or anything.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's all relative. But, you know, it's like, you know, I got a new console. I have a new, well, it's not really a new display, but it feels like a new display because I'm getting the 4K treatment on it finally.
Yeah, you have a more recent display.
Yeah, well, I've had this 4K monitor since last Christmas, but I haven't actually been able to use the 4K part of that until recently.
Yeah, because you only have like a base PS4. Yeah.
Well, I did, but now I have a PS5. So, you know, I want, you know, I refreshed the visual setup. It feels like a new display because I'm finally maximizing its potential with always on HDR and 4K. So now I'm like, okay, let's give a bit of an upgrade to the audio now. You know, Mark Cerny had the same thought. That's why he wants to scan everyone's ears and collect everyone's ear data.
You know, when we finally watch Rise of Skywalker, you'll actually be able to use like the 4K HDR for that.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, it'll probably look nice. The movie's probably going to be hot shit, but you know.
Yeah, it'll be fucking garbage, but
it'll be pretty garbage.
Yeah. I haven't watched a lot of movies with the 4K, and by that I mean any. I did watch some. I've watched YouTube videos in 4K. One of my favorite channels, the Proper People, the Urban Explorers. They do all their videos in 4K, and now I can see abandoned locations in full 4K detail, which is really cool.
There's an anime. So like when the give me a second, brain. When the film elements for Project Echo were found, Discotek Media put up a 4K YouTube video showcasing roughly what the movie is expected to look like with the new transfer.
Yeah.
And I can probably send that to you. Like, so
I've seen it. I check your Twitter feed.
Okay. But like, have you seen it on your, new 4K display in proper 4K with HDR?
No, I don't fucking browse Twitter on my monitor, Kevin.
Okay, but no, like, it's on YouTube though, so like I can send it to you.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Fine. I keep forgetting this isn't 2003 and we don't have to pay by the text.
Nope. The future is now, old man.
I just remember a Technical Dave video where he has to explain to his younger viewers the concept of MSN Messenger. And they're like, why didn't you? And he has like all these like Zoomer strawmen. He's like, why don't you just send a text message? Because it costs like 5 cents back then. And the Zoomer is like, it costs money to send the text. Just use Facebook chat. It wasn't invented yet. Shut up.
Reminds me of when my mom had to block the data on my phone because just looking at text pages on my phone cost money.
I didn't get a cell phone until after that stopped being a thing, but I remember a culture in which people were annoyed by these things.
Dude, I was fucking pissed when my mom told me, it's like, no, that costs money, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Jeez.
What was my point? What was I talking about?
I don't remember. It's been like 10 minutes. You got new headphones?
Yeah, I think it was after that, though. I don't remember. And I think I was saying what I was watching. Yeah, I watched some YouTube videos that are in 4K, like the Proper People and whatnot, that have good 4K videos. And in terms of watching things, I haven't watched any movies. I did start rewatching because there are new seasons in the works, eventually. Blizzard soon.
I love that's a thing. It's like, it's not now soon, it's Blizzard soon. It's done when it's done.
Yeah. There's new seasons of Total Drama in the works, and I thought, well, I've seen most of Total Drama, but it was a while ago. And there's some parts of later Total Drama I haven't seen, so I thought, well, let's start now, because it's the kind of thing I can drop and pick up as easily as I want to. But there's so much of it to get through that I figure I might as well start now, rewatching seasons of Total Drama in preparation for the eventual new ones. Although those could be like 2 years out. We have no idea. HBO Max announces shit as soon as the ink is dry, and we're like, well, where's the Boondocks reboot? Where the fuck's that, HBO Max?
Still waiting on that, HBO. Where is it?
Where's my Boondocks reboot? You promised me a Boondocks reboot. But yeah. So that could be a ways out, but I'll be ready for that. And I've been leaving my thoughts on that in a Discord, a channel on our Discord server.
You also have a channel on our Discord server for One Piece.
It's true. It's called the Pirate Bay.
That was my idea, by the way. He was asking, what's a suitable... It's just like, okay, Kevin, I'm going to be going through One Piece, and I need a suitable name for a text chat where I can just talk about One Piece. What do you suggest? And I'm just like, the Pirate Bay.
The manga I want to specify.
Yeah. Which is funny because you're reading the color scans, which aren't available legally, so the text chat has a dual meaning in the name.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
See? It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Jar Jar, he's the key to all this. oh, sorry, One Piece. Kobe, he's the key to all this.
I like it. I've also been playing some Deathloop. Enjoying that.
I've heard it's one of the greatest games ever made.
Some people have said that, yeah. It scored pretty highly. I woke up that day and saw like it got like 10 out of 10s from both IGN and GameSpot, and I was like, oh, I perked up. It's like fuck. God damn, how does that song go? God damn it.
I don't know what song you're talking about.
You know, the Leorio Stair song, I'm forgetting. Oh, okay, I pull up. It's like
okay, that one, yeah. I pull up.
Yeah. Okay, I pull. Yeah, I saw those 10s and I was like, okay, I pull up. Hop out at the after party. You and all your friends, yeah, you love to get naughty.
Yeah,
it's like that. Yeah. It was like that. That was the feeling of seeing Deathloop get multiple 10s.
Yeah, because like I believe before that you're like, I'm probably gonna wait for it to go on, like do your normal thing. It's like I'm gonna wait for it to go.
No,
on
by that
sale,
point,
kind of
by that point, I had already pre-ordered it.
Oh right, yeah.
Because they I don't know. I was just on the store and there was a like a 10% plus member discount to pre-order, and I was like, it's okay. It's probably gonna be great.
It's like one of the only times that you're like, okay, 10% discount, I'll do it, fine.
I don't know. Ever since I started getting money, I've been in a spend money mood. I should probably get over that.
Probably. You don't want problems later down the line.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm not super far into it, but I've been having fun. I'm glad Pete Hines gave Colt's voice actor a PS5. That was nice of him, especially since he works for Xbox.
Dude, I wish I could complain about not having a PS5 on Twitter and just have somebody send me a PS5.
He deserves it. The guy who plays Colt is like really fucking good. He was like from the first sentence, it is dramatic and endearing. He's such a natural delivery. It's so great. Very funny guy. So he deserves that. I like how. Go on.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say I like how console war Twitter is the most obnoxious it's ever been, and Pete Hines is just like, "Hey, guy who works for a studio I own that made a game exclusive to the enemy platform. How about I buy the other console for you?" Like, I just like how console war Twitter is so fucking obnoxious more than ever these days, and Pete Hines is just as chill as ever.
Dude, friggin' Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo are like all buddy-buddy on social media.
Yeah, which is funny. Remember that time at the Game Awards where they all the heads got on stage together and it was actually kind of awkward?
It was weird. It was a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
That was a while back. Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was before. That was pre-Reggie leaving. Damn. That was the shitty Game Awards. I think that was the one where like it was just constantly. It was all just live service announcements and shit.
Yeah, it was. Oh.
Yeah.
God, that show sucked.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, the only thing that I actually cared about was like a couple of the awards and Game of the Year.
Yeah.
Even hey guys, do you like digital card games? And I'm like, no.
Yeah, even Jeff kind of pseudo apologized for that one.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, next year was better in that regard.
Yeah.
But it was also the Last of Us 2 show featuring other games.
Yeah.
So, kind of ended up going in the opposite direction in terms of what the issues were.
Yeah. That was a very weird happenstance because it was so... It was so against the mood of the room,
I still think Hades should have gotten Game of the Year.
Yeah, sure. But it's... You know what I mean, though? Like, it was against... They clearly... Everything around The Last of Us Part 2 was clearly meant to fuel a hype engine. You know, it was
Yeah.
clearly meant to be the same big cultural touchstone as the original and have the same amount of like hype and enthusiasm behind it. And then it came out and a lot of people didn't really care for it. And by the time the Game Awards rolled around, like 8 months later, like the room on it had like cooled completely, but like all the people on, you know, on the press side are still going hot. And it's like you know, it feels like looking at a movie's page on Rotten Tomatoes where the critic score is really high but the audience score is really low, and you're like, what the fuck went on? What went on here?
A little bit of Last Jedi going on here.
And I don't know. I feel like,
I mean, The Last of Us 2 isn't that weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like critics weren't that into Last Jedi, honestly. I feel like actual critics weren't that into it. I feel like certain brands of YouTube critics were into it. But like,
yeah, fair.
Yeah. I feel like certain online personalities make it seem like the film was more critically endorsed than it actually was.
I mean, it got like a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, so like, I don't know.
They were all paid off. They were all paid off.
You know that they were.
When you run out of arguments, just accuse the other side of being paid off.
Then there's our buddy Schaeferless over here. We love you, buddy. We don't actually know him.
The sun was in my eye. You know. Damn, my brain doesn't want to work today.
Well, that's not very great for doing a podcast. That's
true. Yeah. So anyway, by the time that rolled around at the Game Awards, I wish I could call them the VGAs because that rolls off the tongue so much easier.
It does.
But no, it's the Game Awards now, and I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. Just
wasn't VGAs like a Spike TV thing?
Yes, because it used to be that. It used to just be the Video Game Awards, but now it's the Game Awards. So you can't call them the VGAs anymore, even though they're the same thing, hosted by the same dude. You know, I know that the Game Awards is a more imposing, honorable sort of title for this sort of thing. But man, VGAs just rolled off the tongue so much easier.
It was iconic.
I don't know about that, but I'm just saying, like in casual conversation, when we refer to it, it's just a lot easier to say the VGAs than the Game Awards. You know. I will say though, the trophy design is actually pretty awesome. I've always thought that.
I do love the trophy design for the Game Awards. I do love the fucking trophy.
Yeah, it feels like, I don't know who designed it, but like they clearly went into it with like, let's make our own Oscar.
It does have a bit of like, you know, that like iconic Oscars kind of look to it.
Yeah.
But like very much its own thing.
You know, but you know, it's fuck the Oscars.
It's like a really, really pretty hood ornament.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you want out of a trophy. It looks like something you want to put on the front of your car, but you know you shouldn't.
And we mean that in the best way.
Yeah. These are compliments.
We want to make that very clear.
These are compliments. I really dig it. I would love if I received one, I would feel actually honored.
Yeah, same.
And that's
like
that's the best you can say about things.
I display that shit like in my house. That would look really good.
Yeah, I'd buy a glass case for it.
Yes.
I might even sleep with it. Who knows? The possibilities are endless.
You been up to anything else, or is that like basically just it?
Yeah, but there are some news things I wanted to cover if you're into the news.
I am somewhat into the news as long as it's nothing regarding
Great, let's talk about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Shit!
I've trapped you! This was a political podcast all along!
Oh god, no!
No, it's not that kind of news this time.
Okay, good.
Maybe one day. Yeah. quick aside though, when I was leaving work the other night, and by the other night I mean last night, I saw across the way, you know how sometimes you see into someone's window and you see their TV or whatever?
Yeah.
This guy had an absolutely massive television. This shit, if I was eyeballing it from across the way, you know, across the street, but just using my like spatial reasoning, I estimate this was like at least an 85-inch TV set.
Jesus.
This massive. And you know what was on there? The fucking news.
Oh my god.
And in that moment, I'm like, I know this kind of person. I'm like, this is the kind of person who buys a massive fuck off 85-inch television set and all he watches is like the fucking news. And I'm like, that is such a waste.
It's like, do you know what this 85-inch $3,000 TV is meant for? CNN.
C-SPAN, motherfucker.
God,
that
frustrates me so much, and it shouldn't.
That's like going deer hunting with a minigun. What the fuck?
God damn it! That's like such a waste of money.
Yeah,
you don't need a TV that big for the goddamn news.
Yeah.
How bad is your eyesight?
Yeah. It was like it was like a condo, so it might have actually been an old person. Who knows?
Maybe.
Yeah, young people can't afford condos, so most likely. That's also a different kind of person, the hunter who like sees the deer as the enemy. Like I used to go hunting in my youth, and I used to, you know, hang out with like adult hunters and whatever. And there are definitely guys like that like see deers like an opponent, and I'm like, I think you've misunderstood the engagement here. The deer is not an enemy combatant. The deer is hardly a threat to you, especially at the ranges you're going to be shooting at it from.
It's like, dude, if anything, the deer is scared of you.
Yeah, it's like these guys will show up like, I got this new 12 gauge. Those fucking deer aren't gonna stand a chance. I'm like, okay, this was a fight. Was I supposed to have money on the deer?
I wasn't aware that I was indoctrinated into a war effort.
Like I don't doubt you, dude. I never doubted your ability to kill this deer. You know,
the gun kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah, I think what it is that like, it's just it's not so much hunters as it is just gun nuts that are just, you know, you can only get so much catharsis out of clay pigeons, you know. So at a certain point, they're just like, I'm gonna use bigger and better guns, and I'm gonna kill the only things I'm legally allowed to kill with them.
God,
you know.
Hey.
But it's just so funny that they paint it as if it's like a battle.
Yeah, I never got that personally. Yep. I just don't get it. It's like, did the deer do something to offend you? Deers
killed my grandma, okay?
God. Fucking damn it. Oh man.
Anyway. I saw this article on ANN and I thought it would be an interesting topic for us to discuss.
I would love to.
Okay. Manga Plus editor says the service is growing fast, but translation costs are high. Yuta Momoyama predicts even split in 10 years between Japanese overseas manga readership as machine translation technology improves.
Oh, that.
Oh,
okay.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
okay.
No. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Shueisha editor Yuta Momamiya, who manages Weekly Shonen Jump Plus, and Manga Plus online services, highlighted the current state of the Manga Plus service in an interview with IT Media earlier this month. He explained that the service currently has 5 million monthly active users, and that a new chapter for a popular series will get about 1 million views. As for comic sales, he said that his gut tells him that 10 to 20% of sales come from overseas. Why he checked his gut and not the actual data spreadsheets he probably has access to, I don't know, but I guess that his stomach knows better. He predicts that in about 10 years, there will be an even split between overseas and domestic sales, if a proper environment for selling manga digitally can be assembled. Although the Manga Plus service includes ads, he explained that the priority is making a manga's official version as easily accessible as possible rather than monetizing the platform. That's good.
Okay. All right.
He said that the advantage of Manga Plus as a simultaneous distribution service is that not only preempts piracy, it closes the time gap between domestic and overseas reception. Because the overseas licenses for screen adaptations are currently very lucrative. Let's talk about anime here.
Yeah.
The popularity of a manga on Manga Plus is now a factor in determining whether the series gets an anime adaptation.
Okay.
I figured we could infer that. On the other hand, Momamiya said that translation costs are currently very high. He said the quality of machine translation is still very low, but that, quote, in 10 years it should improve, adding that if we can produce high-quality translations in many different languages, it will be a game changer all over again. Wait. I know you're angry, but let me wait till I finish this. He also highlighted the company's lack of operational resources for each region and local censorship as problems, saying the company still lacks knowledge in those areas. Thus, it is difficult currently to make swift changes and adjustments as necessary. Shueisha launched Manga Plus service worldwide in January of 2019. I actually thought it was older, but there we go. The service is Shueisha's first foray into direct service globally. The service launched with 50 titles, including 13 completed series, and now publishes new chapters of currently serialized manga from Shonen Jump, Weekly Shonen Jump, Jump Square, and the Shonen Jump Plus service at the same time they're released in Japan. While it is free to download and use, users can also purchase compiled book volumes for specific series. The first and latest chapter of a currently serialized manga are also free, and a portion of the revenue from advertisements on the website go directly to manga authors. Last month, the service removed its region restrictions for all languages. Readers can now select their choice of language for the service from English, Spanish, Thai, Brazilian Portuguese, Indonesian, and Russian.
Okay.
There are 67 series available in Spanish, 6 in Thai, 4 in Brazilian Portuguese, 4 series total, 5 in Indonesian, 6 in Russian. The company also announced it plans to add more content in new languages.
Okay.
Here's the rub about this. Here's the part that irks me.
Yeah.
I love that his thought process is, man, it would be great if we didn't have to pay humans to do this.
Yeah. Here's the problem with his idea behind, so the way that he phrased it is basically just like, paying people to translate our shit is a lot of money, but, when machine translations get better, maybe we'll be able to pay them, pay people less in order to here's the problem with that. Japanese, the language you are translating from, is a highly context-sensitive language.
As a Japanese person, you should probably know that.
Yeah,
but
probably.
We'll explain it. Us, the Baka Gaijins, will explain it to you, a native Japanese man.
The problem is, you're trying to teach a computer how to translate a context-sensitive language into other languages. And, I'm not sure if you know this, subtlety and context aren't exactly the strengths of machine translation. God, machine translations not only are incredibly literal, but they take the most common translation for a word, and they just use that as a blanket, over the entire,
I'm reminded of Noodle's video about 60 FPS interpolated animation, where he's like, if you tell a computer to do something, it sure is going to do it, but it's going to do it in the most straightforward A to B boring route possible.
Yeah. So, if you want a really, really good example of how bad machine translation is at translated context-sensitive language like Japanese, please go watch the official English subs of the 90s tokusatsu series Gridman, because those are machine translated, and they're shit.
Yeah, and people are like, well, machine translation, it's getting better all the time. And here's the thing. I've read so many counter arguments against this, things like DeepL or whatever.
Yeah.
Because in the visual novel community, a lot of people rely on MTL because, if nobody's fan translating it, that's your only option, really. But I hear counter arguments from native speakers all the time where they're like, no, it's not really getting better at translating. What it is getting better at doing is making translations that sound good to you. It's getting better at making more fluid and smoother sounding English sentences, but that doesn't mean that those sentences are actually accurate to what was written.
Yeah, underlying context and nuance is always being lost when you're going through something like a machine translation, which takes the most base literal translation and, you know, tries to work with it.
Yes, the machine translation, it's not improving in accuracy or context or meaning or any of that. What it is improving is sounding less like machine translation.
Yeah,
that's all it's ever improved in, is sounding more natural without actually being any more authentic. I have my doubts. I don't doubt we'll get there one day, but I have a feeling that's a long ways off.
Longer than 10 years, easily.
Yes, before machine translation is even in the same ballpark as what a human can do. But more importantly, I just don't like his attitude about it. I don't like his attitude that the first thing out of his mouth is, man, if I could not pay people, I would.
Yeah.
I mean, let's extrapolate that further. You know, if we get to a point where
businessman.
If we get to the point where it's like, man, we can have AI draw manga for us that it's just as good as what the humans are drawing. I guess we don't have to pay manga artists anymore either.
Yeah.
We can just have robots make manga, and then robots translate that manga, and there you go. Now we can pay even less people. I'm like, okay, what if a robot does your fucking job? What if a robot can manage this fucking business, this fucking service for you, which is probably easier than getting a machine to actually translate or draw. You know, you wouldn't be talking like this if it was a robot coming after your job.
Yeah.
And I get progress. I get that some jobs are going to become obsolete. I understand that, you know. But at the same time, I don't think this is one of those cases because it's such a pure creative endeavor.
It is.
You know,
it is.
When the automobile replaced the horse, yeah, people were up in arms about that. Mostly people who had stakes in, you know, selling horses. But it was a purely functional thing. The automobile was just better at getting you better and more reliable at getting you from A to B, from your home to a destination and back.
Yeah,
it was a purely functional thing.
Yeah, once you get to things like art, creativity, ingenuity, like stuff that is created by the human hand, you know, for artistic and entertainment purposes. The moment you start getting into art and trying to, you know, replace elements of the artistic process with machines, you are losing a very key part of what makes art what it is. Art is, and this goes by translation as well, it is an expression of the person who is writing. And the entire point of translation, this is something that I hear from a lot of different translators. The point of translation isn't to translate the words, it's to translate the meaning behind the words.
This is why so many translators are also creative writers in their own right.
Yeah.
Because you have to be to make good translations.
Yeah, and when you're not, you get shit like the translator for Evangelion these days, where everything is fucking stilted and makes no goddamn sense 25% of the time.
Hey, apparently Studio Kara wanted that.
No, okay, that one's a complicated one, and I don't want to get into it right now.
Yeah, okay.
Let's
tune in next week where we don't do that.
Let's just say, Hideaki Anno doesn't have the say in the translations that people think he does.
Here's my thesis. Okay, here's what I'm gonna say.
Okay.
When we get to a point where machines can do these sorts of artistic endeavors as well as humans can, we're gonna be at a point where machines are basically full artificial intelligences.
Yep.
And so I don't think that mystical day where you don't have to pay someone is ever gonna come, because by the time machines can do it, machines are gonna be smart enough to realize they should probably get paid for the effort too.
Yep, pretty much.
So I don't think that day is ever going to come, because one way or another, whether you're paying a person or you're reimbursing a machine somehow. I don't know what kind of currency they'd expect. That's a future I can't even fathom right now. But I think if an AI is smart enough to do this shit as well as a human can, they're smart enough to deserve to be treated like a human would anyway.
I can't wait for the day when a robot asks for a pay raise and the executive is like, "Fuck, this backfired."
Oh no! I'm a genius! Oh no!
God. It's literally that meme. It's literally that meme. Mm-hmm. In practice, it is literally that meme.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think it's a great thing that the head of one of the Shueisha editors would prefer not to pay translators if he could. That probably doesn't speak super well on him as a superior business person.
It really doesn't. It kind of showcases the fact that he's missing the point completely. Mm-hmm. Behind like why certain things in the industry are the way that they are. And I get it. And it also just shows that he doesn't quite understand why translation works the way that it does.
And to some extent, I get the struggle, at least in non-English markets.
Yeah.
When you're talking about things like Portuguese, Brazil, Indonesian, whatever, all these other languages, I get that it can be harder to find adequate, Japanese to those language translators. Japanese to English translators, they're a dime a dozen. I mean, not literally, but there's a lot of them.
I mean, they might be a dime a dozen.
They might want to make them a dime a dozen, but they shouldn't be. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of them. They're not hard to find. But when you're getting to these more obscure languages, I get it. It's a challenge to find, adequately skilled translators for this sort of thing. I get it. I get why machine translation in those cases is an appealing option. But at the same time, maybe have some dignity and respect for, the actual integrity and effort that translators put in of any language put into this sort of thing.
Yeah, like respect the artistic process and the work that goes into it, instead of just trying to think of what is the quickest shortcut to maximum profits. That is never a good mindset to get into.
Yeah. Because their mindset here is probably like, well, man, there's a huge amount of piracy in these regions where we're not currently selling legally available manga, and I'm glad they recognize that that's a service problem.
Yeah.
I'm glad for that, but at the same time, their solution should not be, well, we should just rush out shittier translations by robots. In my humble opinion, and maybe they have their own reasons why they don't want to do this, but I don't know. Maybe if there are people that are fan translating these works into these obscure languages, maybe you should contact those people and hire those people, because they seem to know what they're doing.
That's what happened. Go ahead.
They seem to know what they're doing if they're taking away enough of your potential revenue or whatever for you to notice it as a problem. So why don't you hire those people?
Yeah, because that's what happened in the North American anime industry. A lot of the people that currently work in the anime industry started off as fan translators and shit. Like people so easily forget Crunchyroll was once a fan sub site. Yeah, Clyde Mandolin, the guy that did the original fan translation for Mother 3, is currently working as a professional translator for anime, manga, and video games. He started as a fan translator.
That guy actually got a letter at the time from someone rumored to have been higher up in Nintendo saying that his translation of Mother 3 was so good it would have put any official effort by theirs to shame. I remember that. Yeah, he said that. And it kind of shows how good he was at his job. Yeah, but that's a good point. If trying to find people through traditional professional means doesn't work, maybe look into the fan scene and try to find people who understand the work and can translate it effectively and hire them for the professional work. I'm sure they would love to get paid, Yeah. So, I would love, dude, if I got paid for working on things that I love, I would do it all the time. Come on.
I mean, I do it all the time anyway, but
if they're passionate enough to do it for free, then clearly they're passionate enough to do it when you pay them to. So I think there's better solutions here than defaulting to robots, and I don't think robots are quite the solution you think they are in the first place.
Yep.
Because sooner, by the time robots get to that level, they're gonna want and deserve those same rights as well.
Yep. Meaning that this entire thought process that he is working under is inherently flawed, and he should probably back off. Just pay translators. Come on.
Indeed.
There's no better juncture for you to go with at this point. Like, translation is what it is, and it's not going to change anytime soon.
Yeah.
All right.
It's true.
Well,
I think that'll do it for the first segment.
I agree.
So, stay tuned. We'll catch you next time on the next segment of the Baka Gaijin show. Hello and welcome back to the Baka Gaijin show. You know who we are.
I don't know who I am.
I skipped to an hour and a half in the video and I don't know what's going on. Who am I?
How did I get
What's a COVID?
Not only did you skip an hour and a half, you skipped 2 years.
No, remember God, what the fuck is his name? What the fuck is he's the remember Jared Leto? He was on like a sabbatical in like the desert, and he came back like 2 months later, and he had no idea what COVID was. That was so funny.
What the fuck is a COVID?
And I'm like, of course it's Jared Leto. Of course it's Jared Leto who was conveniently out in the desert for 3 months and had no idea any of this was happening. Of course it was him.
Why is everybody wearing masks? Why are you all inside? What the fuck is happening?
For once, Jared Leto had to feel like everyone else was the weird one.
What year is it? Jeez.
You know, sometimes I think to myself, Jared Leto is the main character, and we're all just NPCs in his world.
God, he certainly is. He's a very idiosyncratic human being.
Look, you can't send dead rats and used condoms to your co-stars under the guise of method acting and not give off massive Sigma male grind set energy.
God. That combination.
You just can't.
That combination of words that just came out of your mouth.
It might just be good enough to be the title.
God. Okay. Noted. So, what are we doing for this segment, old buddy?
I think you know what time it is, Kevin. Do you know what time it is?
What time is it?
It's Reddit diving time!
Yeah, baby!
This is the part of the show where we look at Reddit.
Woo! I'm not sure if anything is going to be able to top the story yesterday of a guy that got a fucking bedpost rammed up his ass when he was a kid. And then years later, someone asking, hey, are you the guy that got ass raped? But we'll see where this leads us.
Please, I'm gonna ask you now, please don't expect me to one-up myself every week.
Oh no, I don't expect you to. It's going to be a roller coaster every time, but we'll see where things go from here. So, what is our first Reddit story for the day.
Okay. So, our first tale. Let's start with a good old Aita, a good old "Am I the Asshole?"
Ah, yeah, these are fun. It's always a good time for armchair psychology.
That's my favorite kind. Am I the asshole for telling my insane coworker that she was not victimized by a literal baby?
Oh my god. Okay. Okay. Already I can tell. No, you are not the asshole.
Yeah, some of them...
From the title alone.
Sometimes, Kevin, it's about the journey and not the destination. You know what the answer is going to be, but you kind of want to know how we got there.
Continue.
Okay. I, a 28-year-old female, work with another woman, 33-year-old female, who is extremely pregnant at the moment. Not just pregnant, extremely pregnant. She is on maternity leave and taking time off right now, but she's very dedicated to keeping our entire office keyed into every detail of her pregnancy. She spams her ultrasounds and updates and baby bump pictures to the office group chat constantly.
Okay.
She also has already had the baby shower and is still requesting more stuff for the baby from us. She treats the baby like it's a child, playing at Mozart and playing a math podcast to it so it'll come out with a higher IQ. That's why I wasn't surprised when she showed up at the office for Bring Your Kids to Work Day to make it all about her pregnancy, even though her kid has yet to be born. She started showing all the children her pregnant belly and telling them about it. My other coworker brought her baby too, a boy who's about 1.5 years old. My pregnant coworker approached him and told her there's a baby inside her, pointing at her stomach.
Oh no. Oh god.
Oh
god, I've heard this story. No! I've actually heard this story before. No!
She was wearing a dress. The boy misunderstood since he's a literal baby and tried to look up her dress to see it. My coworker was shocked and screamed at him and startled him, causing him to start crying and shrieking and run to his mom. The mom was furious and started yelling at my pregnant coworker that she's a fucking lunatic and saying, why is she even here? Her kid isn't even born yet. My pregnant coworker started screaming back that this is how predators start out and that she's the victim and the baby needs to be controlled. She turned to me for backup and I told her she's insane, thinking she's been victimized by a literal baby. She yelled at me that it's no excuse and I am enabling them. Both of my coworkers were asked to leave by security. I'm pretty sure her reaction to a baby looking up her dress to find the baby was insane, but maybe I'm losing it. Am I the asshole?
I am astral projecting as we speak. Christ! Oh my god! People like this exist! God damn it. Fuck.
Top comment, not the asshole. He's a literal baby and does not understand pregnancy. This was in no way sexual. Her saying it was sexually deviant is in itself sexually deviant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Babies see boobs as food.
Pretty much. Dude, my friggin' my friggin' nephew for like 3 years was just obsessed with my siblings' boobs because it's just like, Mommy, I want ninis. Like, and the only reason why is because they make the food come out. That's it. It's, oh my god. Kids don't have a friggin' 1.5-year-old kid doesn't have a concept of that shit. Like, sexuality and stuff like that doesn't occur to them naturally. It's... Oh my god. I am... I don't have words for... Oh my god.
I want everyone to know that this entire news segment is just to give Kevin procedural psychic brain damage. This is just so I can repeatedly deal psychic damage to Kevin.
Hold on, let me roll a d20.
Actually, I have a d20 right here. Let me roll it.
Oh Christ!
13.
I take 13 psychic damage. Okay, good.
Yeah, I bought all these fucking dice for that Pathfinder campaign we never did, and I still have them.
I've actually been doing a Curse of Strahd campaign on and off with a
that's a good campaign.
Group. It is. It's fun. I like it. I died.
Oh.
Yeah, one of my characters...
I guess I'll need a new co-host then.
No. One of my characters died, and I had to roll a new character to replace him. To be fair, I actually kind of like my new character more.
Somebody made a good point. Your coworker is interesting, less insane, and more self-centered. If she's screaming about a toddler looking at her dress, how the hell is she going to deal with having a real baby that bites and throws things? I feel bad for her kid.
Yeah, and the kid ain't even born yet. That's how you know it's bad. Woo!
She definitely seems insane to me. She starts playing math podcasts to make her baby smart, even though it's a literal fetus and can't comprehend language yet, and she implied a 1-year-old as a sexual predator for looking at her dress to see a baby. I don't think she's all there, to be honest.
Yeah, I think this one's it speaks for itself, I feel.
Mm-hmm,
I feel like everyone's on the same page of what the hell is wrong with this woman? Man. And it's true. I feel really bad that this is the parent that this kid is going to be saddled with. Oh my god. Either this lady is going to have to rapidly go through a character development arc, or that kid is fucked. Oh man. Well, we started off on an interesting note with this particular Reddit dive.
Let's go to a Tifu. Let's go to a Today I Fucked Up.
Okay. These are fun too. Okay.
This is a medium fuck up, they say. Today I fucked up by effectively pepper spraying myself and then washing my eye out with jalapeno oil.
Oh. Medium fuck up.
This is not a good segment for empaths.
God. Oh my god, I feel this in my soul. Oh god.
So, last night, I decided to cook up one of those Hello Freshes for my girlfriend and I. She works as a nurse and gets home late after a 12-hour shift. I try and time dinner when she gets home, and it works with our schedule. Good guy. Yeah. The hot item menu was going to be spicy fish tacos. I was stoked and did pretty good at having all the prep work done before she got home. One of the final steps was to throw the fish on the grill with some tin foil and flip it after 5 minutes, coating it with a sriracha and hoisin bath.
Okay.
Here's my first mistake. I go to flip the fish and realize I forgot to add the oil to the foil. It rhymed. So that it wouldn't stick. After I sussed the fish off the tin foil, yes, he wrote that. After I suss the fish off the tin foil and bathe it in the spicy sauce, I throw some oil on it to make the fish come off after its last 5 minutes of cooking. I give it 2 minutes before I realize there's a mini fire from the oil spilling off on the tin foil.
Yeah.
I open the barbecue to let the fire chill out. I get a massive smoke plume directly in my face and it gets in my eye, causing some discomfort. I give it a minute to pass, fix the fish again, so that the fire stops, and I go to the kitchen sink to rinse my eye. Well, that smoke seemed to be dried sriracha, and by God, I resurrected it with that water, and it was back with a vengeance.
Oh.
Holy fucking shit, I scream as my eyes begin to burn worse and worse with every passing second. Now I knew I need to flush my eyes out, but my second fuck up made my first feel like a cakewalk. 20 minutes earlier, one of the steps was to cut jalapeno to pickle, and the instructions definitely recommend using gloves while handling it. I thought this was a joke. Jalapenos don't burn people's hands. That's their mouths, right? Wrong!
Oh, no.
Very, very wrong!
Very wrong.
I began to rub my eyes
Capsaicin is a hell of a drug.
I began to rub my eyes while flushing it with water. It only got worse and worse by the second. I was crying and snotting everywhere from the assault of my eyes. I was also confused as hell as to why rubbing my eyes made it that much worse. By the fourth flush, it dawned on me that the oil in my hands was only making things worse. I needed help. Real help. My eyes were on fire, and the alarm had started going off to get the fish out of the grill. I felt my way through the house to find my girlfriend, who had recently hopped in the shower after a full day saving lives. I walked into the room weeping and asked her to leave the shower as she just started to tend to the fish at a critical point on the grill. She was confused. I was very impatient given my situation. The final of my fuck-ups was yelling after I couldn't give a reasonable explanation as to why this poor girl was getting kicked out of her shower she just got into. If there's one thing you don't do, it's mess with a hungry nurse after a long day. She immediately started yelling at me for screaming at her. She was mostly pissed as we definitely don't yell at one another.
Yeah.
It took all of 2 seconds for her to notice I was in horrible pain before she leapt into action, however. Saved the fish of the grill and immediately didn't mind me evicting her from the shower to let me rinse my eyes for a solid 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I could not express how sorry I was after yelling. Turns out I become exceptionally unreasonable when I introduce eye drops from the devil's pool into my peepers. TLDR, got sriracha smoke in my eye, rinsed my eye with water activating the sriracha, rubbed additional jalapeno oil in my eye to fix it, and then yelled at my girlfriend in a plea for help after she worked a 12-hour shift.
Yeah. Oh my god, that poor fucker. Man, yeah. Yeah, that's the problem with working with peppers and stuff, is that capsaicin is fucking nasty, man.
Don't touch your eyes. Do not.
Yeah, it's like
Just
it's like whenever like I watch Hot Ones and like the people on Hot Ones start to like wipe their eyes, the host is just like, careful around the eyes. And that's for a good reason. If that shit gets into your eyes, it burns like a motherfucker, and it's basically just being pepper sprayed.
Yes. Look, it might not burn your hands, but your hands are rough. They're not sensitive like other parts of your body because they're your hands. You're touching shit with them constantly. They have to be rough, you know. But it is still trying to burn you even when you're touching it with your hands.
Yeah.
But you touch anywhere sensitive, and yes, it's going to burn like hell.
Yeah. So be careful when you're dealing with peppers and hot stuff that has like a high concentration of capsaicin. Be careful and don't touch your goddamn eyes. Because that shit will fuck you up.
Although my favorite is top comment, and it's literally just, "Welcome to Jackass! I'm Sinister Sly, and this is the jalapeno pepper eye wash."
Yeah.
This is absolutely something they would do on Jackass.
They totally do that. Oh my god. Jesus. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I knew it was going to be a hell of a story because you mentioned the title of the post, and like I could feel my own eyes burning by proxy.
Yeah. See, I don't get that way. I guess I'm not empathetic enough to have that like instinctual reaction to things like that.
Yeah, no. Then there's fucking me. It's just like, oh god. No.
Yeah. Okay.
It was a good one.
Let's go. Yep. Let's go back to Aita for a moment.
Okay.
Am I the asshole for choosing my friend's wedding over my sister's segregated one?
What?
Am I the asshole for choosing a friend's wedding over my sister's segregated one?
Okay, alright. Okay, it's gonna be one of these. Okay.
Let's fucking go.
Okay.
He is a 26-year-old male. His sister, Maya, 25-year-old female, is engaged to a man from the Middle Eastern culture. We were raised with no religion or big ethnic customs. Her wedding is set for March of 2022, much like every video game ever.
Okay.
I added that part.
I know.
It's a little March joke. I also just got a save the date for one of my college friends on the same date in a different part of the country. Now, normally, it'd suck to miss a friend's wedding, but sister probably overrules friend. The thing is, her wedding is going to be in the custom of her fiance's family, which is to segregate based on sexes and not allow alcohol, meaning I'd have to be totally sober and not even allowed to hang out with my girlfriend. That sounds like a boring time for the both of us. My friend's wedding is a more normal American in that there's no separations, and it's an open bar. My girlfriend and I are both pretty good friends with the bride and groom, and it'll be so much more fun. I told Maya that I'm not comfortable with the setup of her wedding, and I'm going to go to my friend's instead, but she's super pissed at me. I told her that if they had a more normal one, I would go, but I'm not going to spend money traveling and for a hotel to be sober at a weird wedding and not even be allowed to dance with my girlfriend when I could go to a good friend's wedding and have a great time instead. My parents are kind of with me too. My dad said I should put my girlfriend first and agrees it won't be nearly as good a time. My mom isn't exactly thrilled about the culture Maya's married into. It's very sexist, and said while she's sad I won't be in the picture, she gets it. Maya, however, has not taken it well and keeps texting me about accusing me of not only being a bad brother but being xenophobic. That is not accurate, as if it was another culture that allowed men and women to spend time together at weddings or at least drink, I'd go, but this is just weird. Right now, I'm just leaving her unread while I think of what to say. Also, when I say segregated, I don't just mean the seating to eat, it's separate rooms for the entire event.
Good lord.
Is he the asshole, though?
No, at that point, like, you don't feel comfortable going to that particular wedding and you know you're not going to have a good time. Like, yeah, this is your sibling you're talking about, but you are under no obligation to go.
Mm-hmm.
And you already made plans to go to a different wedding that you know you're going to have a better time at, that you know isn't going to have this weird culturally based segregation issue that is just baseline sexist. And like, at that, I can't blame this guy for wanting to go to the friend's wedding with his girlfriend so that he can actually have a good time, instead of going to his sister's wedding where he knows he is not going to have a good time and he is just going to be super uncomfortable the entire time. I wouldn't want to go to that wedding myself.
Me neither, but it brings in the complicated issue of whether, you know, what is respecting other cultures and whatnot. And top comment immediately marks his ground and stands where he stands, where he says, not the asshole, disapproving of the mistreatment of women is not xenophobic, it's basic human decency.
Yeah, I agree. You can respect other cultures but still be critical of the moral failings of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, being critical of cultures and respecting them, these are not concepts that are mutually exclusive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, you can balance that. Like, I love and respect Japanese culture, but there are various elements of it that I don't like and that I criticize.
Yes.
But I'm not xenophobic, or at least I don't think I am.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm sure someone thinks you are, but...
Yeah, but, like, I don't consider myself xenophobic because I'm pointing out elements of the culture that I consider to be, you know, kind of weird or uncomfortable or just really, really morally questionable. It's...
If, you know, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. No,
if criticizing a culture, aspects of a culture makes you xenophobic, then I guess I just hate every culture, because even and especially my own culture, I criticize all the time. You know, criticize your own culture, criticize other people's cultures. You know, there's a balance to be had where you can acknowledge the good with the bad, and you know. And I just thought it was interesting because it sparked some debate in the comments.
Because, like, he's not trying to be offensive towards these people, and he's not doing it out of an innate sense of malice or like a baseline distaste for, you know, a person or their culture. It's an element of the culture he finds deeply uncomfortable, and that is and it's down to a moral level on that point. So I can't fault him.
Yeah.
Now, of course, morality is somewhat relative, but in this case, I feel like he's justified in not wanting to go. It's just a part of the wedding. I also
feel that is his choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the one thing some people get hung up on is that the way he spoke, he referred to his own culture as a normal thing and other cultures as a not normal thing.
Yeah, that is a little, yeah.
But and then but I think that's just... the guy. You can nitpick the guy's language, but it's more that he just feels strongly about the moral implications.
Yeah, the wording is probably not the best, but a lot of it is down to what I would consider good intention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, official Baka Gaijin show verdict: not the asshole.
Yep.
Everyone has the right to not go to weddings if they want.
Yep.
Okay.
You know, when you said segregated, I was like, oh God, what are they going to do to the black people?
No, not. I'll try to find one like that, but no promises.
God, I was like, oh Jesus, what the hell kind of deep south shit am I in for?
No, it was a different cultural issue.
Okay. Not what I was expecting, okay.
Okay. Am I the asshole for calling my husband gross and banning him from bathing our son?
Okay. Interesting setup. Let's see where this goes.
She's a 27-year-old female, and her husband is a 30-year-old male. They have an 8-month-old son together. He is such a blessing, but as new parents, we're fairly exhausted and are just trying to take it one day at a time.
Yeah.
She introduces her life like it's a sitcom. They're fairly exhausted and are just trying to take it one day at a time. The husband helps big time and is super involved as a father.
You don't need to read the whole thing.
Yeah,
like that.
I won't. Though he can be clueless. At times. Well, when she stops writing like that, I'll stop reading it like that. When it comes to her son's care, I handle the big tasks like feeding, obviously, changing and bathing, while he handles cleaning up messes, rearranging sheets and blankets, doing some cleaning on the side, yada yada.
Yep.
Yesterday morning, I went out to do some grocery shopping and left my husband with our son at home. Our son was sleeping. I told my husband there wasn't much work required from him, and I would be back in an hour, so he sat on the couch and checked his social media accounts, which I wish people would stop abbreviating as SM, because that my mind goes somewhere else when you say SM.
That's a different thing.
Yeah, she just said his SM accounts. I'm like, in front of the baby? Anyway. I came back an hour later, and once I entered the apartment, I heard my son cry loudly. I entered the kitchen quickly and saw my husband placing our son inside the kitchen sink and looked like he was giving him a bath. I got mad seeing our son crying loudly. I asked my husband, what the fuck was he doing? And he said he was trying to give our son a bath. I called him gross and grabbed a towel and removed our son from the inside of the sink. My husband asked what I was doing, and I lashed out, calling him gross, thinking it's okay to bathe our son in the kitchen sink and potentially harm him since there were glasses and sharp tools nearby. I told him it wasn't his job, and he should have done it, and he's banned from doing. He shouldn't have done it. She said should have. I think she meant shouldn't have done it, and he's banned from doing it again. He threw a fit, saying I'm treating him as less of a parent than me and dictating how he bonds with our son. We got into a screaming match, and he called me controlling and selfish, and that as a father he should do his fair share if it's our son's care. I straight up told him his attitude wasn't in our son's best interest, and he should stop whining about what he gets, and he doesn't get to do since I giving him more than he could handle. He stormed off and is still sulking and ignoring me till today. Am I the asshole? Was I too hard on him?
All right. There was... Okay. So, I'm not going to say that the husband was necessarily right for trying to bathe his son in the fucking kitchen sink. Probably not the best place to do that, admittedly. But we have a perfectly good bath.
Okay, but I want to read some comments because people have opinions about this.
Okay.
The top comment, you're the asshole. Did you actually read this back to yourself? Kids have bathed in sinks forever. What is the issue here? If it's clean and the dad's giving him a bath, what is your actual problem? Yeah. So much this, kids bathe in the sink all the time. I miss bathing my kids in the kitchen sink. It's never too late. I'm going to try to bathe my 13-year-old in the sink right now. Wish me luck.
But, even if there was an issue with bathing the kid in the kitchen sink, immediately, snatching the kid away from him and calling him and insulting him to his face and being like, you're banned from whatever the fuck, that's going too far. What you should have done instead is calm yourself the fuck down for one goddamn thing and try to calmly and rationally explain to... Okay, for one thing, get your husband's side of the story first. See what his thought process was and try to understand what he was thinking. Why he wanted to do that.
Okay, yeah. From his point of view, what happened was he gave his son a bath in the kitchen sink. He was there watching him the whole time,
Yeah.
actually bathing the son, and then all of a sudden his wife storms in and starts yelling at him for giving his kid a bath.
Yeah. So, like, try to get his perspective on it first, and then, try to explain to him why you are personally uncomfortable with it. Like, be actually mature adults, talk it out, instead of just shouting at each other, snatching the kid away, and being like, you're banned from ever doing this ever again, I'm ashamed of you. Like, that is such fucking high school teenager behavior, and you shouldn't be doing that at 27 and 30 years old.
I can't even blame the guy so much, because he was just bathing his son and got yelled at and called a bad parent.
Yeah,
like, doing it. So like, I don't blame him for yelling, but like,
and again, even if there was an issue with the with the kitchen sink or whatever, at the very least he was there. He was trying to he was actively trying to wash the kid down. The kid was probably upset because it's like, it's not the bath, this isn't what I'm used to, it's weird and I don't like it, admittedly. But like,
babies cry for all sorts of dumb reasons. It doesn't mean they're actually hurt.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, he could have just gotten soap in his eyes or something. That happens.
Yeah. A baby crying, I'm gonna be honest, doesn't mean a whole lot. They cry over everything.
They do. So like, it just, oh my god. Yeah, no, she's the asshole. Definitely. Because like,
I like this comment. What on earth? Yes, you're the asshole. Have you read this subreddit?
I love
there are
that.
so
just
many.
Like, what on earth?
There are so many. Read this subreddit sometime. There are so many parents upset the other half isn't pulling their weight, and here you are gatekeeping parenting.
Yeah.
You are not the only one who can parent, including caring for your child's hygiene needs. Would you rather your husband let the baby sit in mess, potentially affecting skin and well-being? Children for generations have been bathed in sinks, and even if your husband had not been aware of a small hazard nearby, there are ways to raise this concern without going nuclear.
Yeah.
Chill, reflect, apologize, perhaps share the bathing for a while so you can both learn and grow as parents. Tiredness is not an excuse, but if you're finding yourself blowing up regularly, being tearful, feeling irritable and anxious or low more often than not, you may benefit from seeing a doctor for support.
Yeah, I like this response. This response is good. This is a good response.
She did eventually come back and edit her initial post saying, I'm sorry, I had no idea it was common to bathe babies in kitchen sinks. It's weird to me because literally nobody in my family did it. I get now why my husband said it was normal.
Okay, yeah, fair. Okay. That's actually very rare to see, is the person saying, am I the asshole? Coming back and being like, okay, yeah, no, I was. Sorry. That's rare.
Yes, I would work on your communication regardless, though.
Absolutely.
Because I think it's not good for you to blow up over something so mundane.
Yeah, agreed. That's just not healthy for any kind of long-term relationship, and you shouldn't be doing that.
Yes, although the fact that she showed some self-reflection here is a good sign for future endeavors.
The relationship may be salvaged yet.
This isn't one of those posts. I'm glad this isn't one of those posts. Sometimes Reddit goes into this mood where like one thing goes wrong in a relationship and their media like divorce them. Like, whoa, calm the fuck down for a second. You heard one story out of a 10-year marriage. Let's put things in perspective here. Let's not jump to the nuclear options.
Yeah. That was an interesting little story there.
I'm just looking over this one. I can't remember if this was good enough or not.
Okay, all right. Yeah, we were just blazing through these.
Some of them are pretty short, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not that one.
You'll have to forgive him, folks. He probably should have, skimmed these earlier.
I did. I save whatever looks interesting, and I did read them, okay. But I did it like right after the last show, so it's been a little while.
Okay.
So I kind of forgot. Give it a second look and be like, well, is this podcast worthy, or not?
The guy that accidentally pepper sprayed himself in the face with jalapeno oil was
Yeah,
pretty
pretty
great.
podcast worthy. Yeah, pretty podcast worthy.
Just, oh god.
No, this one's a bit long.
I'm
Okay,
running out of things to say to pad for time.
Yeah, okay. I think I've run out of good Reddit posts that I saved. I saved a hobby. There's a subreddit I like called Hobby Drama,
Yeah.
where people explain like drama that's happened in fandoms or various special interests or whatever. And there was a post I saved about what was the title? One second. Survivors Growing Pains, a weird social experiment on race and ethnicity. But it is kind of a long post, so I don't know if it's quite. It's an interesting topic, but I think it's a bit long to read out loud.
Yeah, that might be better saved for like a dedicated segment on its own.
Yeah. So I think I'm out of good Reddit posts for today.
All right, that's fair.
But I did have some topics in mind that I was thinking about.
Okay, all right, let me hear it.
Yeah. So I've been thinking about how do I word this? Hype and advertising and media and stuff like that. And this was spurred on by a lot of people's surprise, let's say, that Deathloop is actually pretty fucking good.
Okay, I see where you're kind of going.
With
this. Okay.
A lot of people seem to write it off based on its trailers and its promotion. And a lot of people just seemed annoyed that it kept showing up at events and it kept being advertised, which to me is a weird thing to say, given how Arcane's last major game, Prey 2017, was notably under-advertised and undersold as a result. So, you have a company that makes, let's be honest, it doesn't seem like it on the surface, but kind of niche products, like weird experimental things in the AAA space. And you're mad that they want to sell their game. And that's very weird. We can get into the content of the trailers itself in a second, but just I don't get being annoyed that a game is being advertised.
Yeah, I don't understand that either, because, if you want more people to have eyes on your game, you kind of want to advertise it more.
Mm-hmm.
And while I do understand the concept of just, something getting overexposed, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because at the very least, you remember the goddamn product.
Well, here's the thing. I don't get that concept at all, at least in the context of something like this, like an actual artistic endeavor, an actual... And maybe it's just because I like Arcane and I like their games, and I was gonna, one way or the other, I was probably gonna buy it anyway. So maybe I don't mind seeing it as much because I like it. I'll admit my bias there, but also I just feel like even if it was something I wasn't super interested in, if it's like something I feel needs to be advertised to actually have a chance at succeeding, I'm not going to get annoyed at the fact that they're doing that. I only get annoyed at overexposure when it's shit that clearly doesn't need to be shoved in every single event. Like when they announce like the new Fortnite season, now with Naruto, believe it.
Yeah. Like
it's like that shit is such a fucking engine onto itself. I don't think it needs to be taking up event time. But something like Deathloop, yeah, of course it does.
Yeah, it's a unique, brand new product being done by a team who's trying to create this unique artistic expression through gaming. And, yeah, you might be a little, yeah, sure. You might end up seeing it a lot, and you might just be like, okay, but I want to see new things. But, they need to keep the game in the public consciousness so people can remember it when it actually fucking releases, so that people actually go out and buy it.
And here's the other thing. The gamer boys might not consider for a second, and that's a little something we like to call perspective.
Yeah.
I need you to understand that not everyone watches every single gaming event. We do, because we're awesome.
Yeah.
But most people don't. Most people are only going to tune into sporadic events. They're not going to hear about every event. They're not going to check out every live stream or whatever. Most people don't watch every single event. So they're not going to get that effect. They're not going to get the repetition. They're not going to see the trailer over and over again because they're not watching every single event. Those people are important to reach too. The reason they keep showing up for these events is so that on the off chance that the people catch one of them, they're going to see it and hear about it.
Yeah.
That's why they do that. It's only annoying to you because you go out of your way to watch every single event. And as someone who goes out of his way to watch every single gaming event and whatnot, because I'm heavily invested in the industry and I just love video games and whatnot, I had to come to terms a long time ago that I'm going to see the same stuff again and again.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. And sometimes that annoys me a little bit, but that's just the nature of the beast,
It reminds me of during the most recent can we really call it E3?
Summer of Gaming.
Yeah, the Summer of Gaming event this year, where Jeff Keighley was so excited about Elden Ring that he just every opportunity he got, he just played the Elden Ring trailer again and again. Not everybody was going to watch every single presentation that Jeff Keighley was, headlining. So there were different people who were going to be seeing the Elden Ring trailer at different points. I watched the Summer Games kickoff, so I saw the Elden Ring trailer already. But, I wasn't annoyed that Jeff had this enthusiasm and this, genuine love for the trailer and for the game coming out, that he wanted as many people to see the trailer as, he could get eyes on it. I'm not going to fault him for that. Admittedly, Elden Ring looks really cool. But, I'm not going to fault him for wanting more people to check this game out.
Yeah. And now, I get into the specific Deathloop in particular and the specific trailers. People seem upset that they couldn't figure out what the game was from its initial trailers. And as someone who sat through all those initial trailers, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I feel like the conceit of the game was made very clear from the outset. Yes, the trailers are edited in that sort of stylish, bombastic way. They're fucking trailers, but I feel like even despite that, they did communicate, it's a time loop. You're going to try different things and try to get all these to assassinate all 8 targets, in the same loop. And you're going to be hunted by Juliana, who can be controlled by another player or might not be if you turn that off. And people are like, well, I thought it was I didn't know it was like other arcane games. I thought it was like an asynchronous multiplayer thing. I'm like, well, it is. That's an aspect of it that they touched upon, but it's not the whole. I feel like the trailers did a good job of making that distinction clear that, yes, this is like other arcane experiences, but it also has new experimental elements. I felt like, and I get people are like, well, it's the impetus is on them to accurately, portray the product, and because I didn't get it, that means they failed. I'm like, I don't agree with that. I feel like you can do an objectively perfect job at conveying something, and people won't get it because they're fucking stupid or they're not paying attention.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is just down to people just not really paying attention and not really understanding, the clear but ultimately not force-fed way that Arcane decided to represent the gameplay elements of Deathloop in the trailers.
Mm-hmm. And I'm less inclined to take that stance as legitimate when it's the same people that are annoyed at that are expressing annoyance at seeing the same trailers over and over again. And I'm like, well, to me, that says you probably weren't paying a whole lot of attention to them in the first place if you're that annoyed by them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take the trailer critique of someone who was probably checking their phone at the time as legitimate. I'm sorry. And I don't, just as someone who makes things, I don't like this idea that it's always I think it's you got to meet each other halfway situation. I think, yes, you have to do a good job at presenting what something is, if you want people to be interested. But I also think there's an impetus on the consumer, on the viewer, to put in the effort to at least understand what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
If you put in zero effort and don't understand something, that's not the company's fault, And I don't like that it's this all or nothing deal. And, I think this speaks to a larger problem, but I sometimes think consumer rights sort of gets turned on its, it kind of gets turned on its head into consumer entitlement and consumer stupidity where like they expect to be brain dead idiots and have everything spoon fed to them, and when they're not, and when they're expected to think for themselves for just a fucking second, suddenly it's their fault. And I'm like, no, you're just fucking retarded, is what you are.
Yeah. God, it reminds me of when, again, going back to like the Summer Games kickoff. This is like a different thing, but like it just kind of reminds me of how when Nintendo made it very clear when they were unveiling Metroid Dread that we're still working on Metroid Prime 4, but we're making a different Metroid game and we'd like to show it to you. And then Metroid 5 shows up on screen and everyone's like, oh, what happened to 4? Like, they just told you what happened to 4. This isn't Metroid Prime, it's just regular-ass Metroid. They're like, Metroid Prime is not the only Metroid series. That's on you for not paying the fuck attention.
They were very explicit about that.
Yeah, they very clearly stated, still working on Metroid Prime 4, we don't have anything to show you, but if you are into Metroid, we have a different Metroid game to show you.
There's only so much you can do to communicate. At some point, it's on the other side to listen.
Yeah.
And that just annoys the shit out of me.
Yeah. Like that just irritated me because like I do like to watch when I'm looking for a serotonin boost. I sometimes like to watch people react to game announcements because I kind of get like I enjoy that like that sense of excitement and hype that people feel, and I kind of like feed off of that to like boost my mood or whatever.
I guess.
And it irritated the hell out of me going through all of these different reactions to Metroid Dread, and like of the like 150 plus reactions, half of them had people that were like, no, what happened to Metroid 4? Like, that's called Fusion and it's already out.
See, that's why I hate watching reactions, because they're all fucking like that. People are just stupid.
Not typical. I mean, I wouldn't agree.
When it's something you're knowledgeable and you care about, you notice those things. You pick that shit up. It's why people sometimes ask me about my opinion on X or Y Dangan Tuber or whatever. I'm like, I don't know. I don't fucking watch any of them. They're all stupid.
God, it reminds me of this other guy that like was watching the Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition trailer, which, for the record, people had been clamoring for a proper remaster of the original Xenoblade for years at that point. And he thought it was just Xenoblade 2 again.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is already out. And everyone in chat was just like, no, you fucking idiot.
See, that's the other thing about reaction content and stuff, is that like it's just a platform for people to express their lack of knowledge and make themselves look like idiots. Okay, sometimes that's funny, but that's if you're looking for like a genuine experience, that kind of ruins the whole thing when somebody is clearly not knowledgeable about something.
Yeah.
And like as someone who likes to be knowledgeable about things, I don't know, reaction content just annoys the shit out of me, because it's either stating the obvious, and it's like, yes, I also feel the exact same way you feel because we are both knowledgeable about the thing, or they're not knowledgeable about the thing. I'm like, no, you fucking dumbass, you're getting everything wrong. And it's like very rarely is there actually anything I gain from content like that. I mean, that's your thing.
Yeah.
This is my show, and I like to express my grievances.
Yeah, no, it's very specific elements of that kind of like reaction culture. It's not really reaction culture as a whole that I'm into. It's just like very specific elements of it that I do enjoy in particular instances. But there is a shitload of it that I admittedly find really irritating, and it's a lot of the shit that you find really irritating. A lot of these people, decide that it's a great opportunity to show my opinions, but like instead of showing your opinions, you're just showing your ass.
Show your ignorance.
Yeah.
You woke up today and decided to be stupid on camera.
Yeah, and here's the thing. When I react to things, I try to at the very least get into a mindset of, I might not be into this, or I might not understand this, but there are other people that probably do, and I'm going to try and focus, and I'm going to try and look at this from as objective a standpoint as I can to try and understand what the fuck I am seeing,
Or just be true to your own perspective. Don't pretend to know more than you do.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not going to pretend that I know more about fucking... Oh, goddamn. Like, fucking Life is Strange or whatever than the next person, because I've never played Life is Strange. I don't know. Fuck.
Yeah. It's yeah, you know, I just hate those people that react to things with any sense of authority that they just don't have.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, that's just so fucking pompous and douchey to me. It's just...
God.
And that's the entire reaction scene to me. It's just people making authoritative statements on shit they don't know anything about.
It can be like that sometimes. There are creators who don't do that. There are.
Oh, I'm sure. It's just like, you know, even when it's done right, the concept of this medium or whatever doesn't appeal to me.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's.
And most
fair
of the time, it isn't done right. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was Zeke Gets Angry About a Thing. Tune in next week for my 5-hour diatribe on why VTubers are shit, and I hate them.
How
I want them to burn in a fire. Fine, 6 hours. Every time you complain, it gets longer. I don't actually have more arguments to make. I just add a lot of varies.
Very, very, very...
It's like that part in Total Drama where Chef makes them all write essays about how much they love Chef, and Duncan just wrote, "I think Chef is very, 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 very." And it's like, this is just 300 varies, and it says "cool" at the end. He's like, it's 300 words exactly. Count them.
Okay. That's on Chef. Chef set the bar too low. That's funny.
Yep. Yeah. So. There's that.
But yeah, a lot of... You are right, though. Like, it is more so a fault of the consumer and of the viewer at this point than it is of Arcane trying to accurately convey their game. Because they did the damnedest that they could. They did a good job.
Yep.
It's just
Yep.
people weren't paying the fuck attention.
Yep. I think they made some very stylish, cool trailers. I think my chair is fucking broken. One sec, god damn it. I hate this. This fucking chair keeps... Fuck! How did I break this chair again? I just fixed it. Fuck! Okay, well...
We're experiencing real pain here, people.
I'm going to do the rest of the podcast at a very uncomfortable angle. The chair is dipping too low. Oh no, I'm falling! Yeah. But yeah, I think they had a pretty good marketing campaign, and I think people are just idiots.
Yeah, and sometimes that's just down to what it is. Sometimes people are stupid.
I feel like that's the message of most of our shows, really.
Occasionally, people are dumb. Yeah. See, we understand that. Now it's time for you to all understand that.
Welcome to the Baka Gaijin show, where we explain in explicit detail how fucking stupid you are.
Just because you have opinions doesn't make them right.
We're like Mr. Electric up in here. We know everything, and you know nothing. I love that scene so much.
Zeke, he ruined my dream journal.
Especially, actually, that's not even Mr. That's the real teacher. He did that at the start of the movie. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
After that scene, he's like, "Enough! I'm the teacher here, not you. This is my classroom. I know everything, and you know nothing."
That's such a weird... That's something you would expect to happen in the dream world, not in the actual classroom.
Well, I think it's because, like, you know, the merging, you know, what is real and what is, you know, there's layers to that film, Kevin. There's layers. There's layers.
Oh, you mean like ogres?
Yeah, it's like onions, yeah. At the end of class, both of you will report to the principal's office with your parents!
Very good, parents!
I know, exactly. I was just like, man, did George Lopez binge some Fairly Odd Parents before coming on set that day? Did he get some fop influence? Did he get some fop in there?
God, I used to do like a bang on Mr. Crocker impression. I don't know if I can do it now, though. I don't want to try right now. Fairies! I don't want to shout that loud. Yeah, that's the thing with Mr. Crocker. It's like, if I want to do that impression, I gotta get, like, really, really loud to get the intonations right.
Yep.
Like, it's all in the throat with that particular voice.
Yep. So, I also wanted to touch briefly on, or maybe not so briefly, we'll see. I'm getting annoyed, Kevin.
I mean,
could you tell?
My man, you're always annoyed about something.
That's my secret, Kevin. I'm always annoyed.
I'm gonna keep it real with you. You're always annoyed.
Yeah, I DM you and I'm like, I'm bothered by something, and you're like, oh, already? Gee, it's like only the 5th time today.
Yeah, I just look at my watch. Gee, look at the time.
I bet Zeke's angry about something right about now.
I sometimes just think offhand, it's just like, it's friggin' 1:30 a.m. and I'm like, I feel like Zeke's going to text me about something he's irritated about. Not even 5 minutes later. It's just, Kevin, I'm mad. And I'm like, really?
Do tell.
That's just my immediate response. Oh, do tell. I have a stock response to you.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I like that I'm perpetually angry, but I don't feel like I give off the angry person persona at all.
I mean,
I don't know. I feel like it's a fun angry and not like a irate gamer angry.
Yeah, but there was that one time you were like shouting at me over text, and I'm like, please turn your caps lock off. And you were like, oh shit, sorry. Anyway.
Yep. Right. But I'm getting annoyed, Kevin, at there's a growing movement, I feel. There's a growing consensus among the populace, the people as it were, that they seem to believe that physical media is the be all end all of games preservation.
My God, you're talking to the wrong dude about this one.
What? No, I'm talking to exactly the right dude about it. Because this is the podcast where we never agree on anything and we're always arguing.
Yeah, no. I really enjoy physical media, so like, yeah. But go ahead.
No, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what I want to combat here is the notion that it's the be-all, end-all of physical media, that once something's been released physically, it is now officially preserved, and it wasn't before, but now it is. And I feel like that's a very outdated and flawed notion, I feel, in the modern era. This is kind of it's kind of like a part 2 to my digital media video that I don't remember anything that I said in. So yeah, but because think about physical media today when it applies to modern games.
Okay,
there's
like
now
video games strictly.
Yeah, there's now a huge divide between what gets standard physical releases and what doesn't. Like, as much as we love the fact that AA games have come back, mid-tier games and studios are coming back. There's now more games in between indies and AAAs. The reality is also the fact that has only happened because of digital distribution. And on the storefront side, on the physical box retail side, things are stricter than they've ever been before. And it seems like only the biggest stuff actually gets physical releases unless you go the route of limited run batches, either from Limited Run or other companies like them, which come with their own caveat of issues, scalpers and whatnot, and also just the fact that it is in fact a limited run,
Yeah.
So I feel like in a retail space, it's gotten stricter than it ever has been before. And I feel like that's part of what's driving this incessant demand for physical releases. When something as supposedly high profile as Psychonauts 2 doesn't get one, it sets off flags in people's minds. Like, it's not preserved. They didn't preserve it. It's not preserved. We have to preserve it. And I'm just like, I feel like there's a number of, this is a complicated topic. There's a number of factors to get into, but the number one thing I want to say is that I don't think physical media is the be all end all for a few different reasons. Number one, these days physical media, as I just said, is an exclusive club in a lot of ways. It's either you have to be a huge release to get one on a wide scale, or you have to get in line for these kind of limited run things that come out, a year after the game actually comes out.
Yeah.
I see Darth in our Discord server, which you can join with the link below, the Baka Gaijin Show Discord server. It's a fun time. But I see Darth, and that time he was like, "Since Streets of Rage 4 is out," and I'm like, "Darth, Streets of Rage 4 has been out for a year now," because he finally got the physical copy that he signed up for or whatever, So not only is there a huge time delay there, but also now that physical copy isn't even complete anymore because they've released patches and updates and DLC for that game. Yeah, that all have to be downloaded separately.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, physical media does help with preserving the base game, but sometimes the base game is really goddamn buggy, and it is a lot of work.
Buggy or unbalanced or incomplete.
Yeah, and
especially these days where more and more games are being released in a not great state that require at least a day one patch to be functional and operational.
Yeah.
The physical media might only have the version 0 on it, which it might boot, but it's not going to be the ideal experience, and I don't know how worthwhile a preservation effort that really is.
Yeah.
And that's very, especially given that we're now in an era where a lot of times they don't even put the full base game on the physical media. The Switch is notorious for this.
Yeah, there
are games there are compilations that only have the first game and you got to download the rest with a code, or they don't even have a functional version of the game and you have to download a big update to get it to run.
Yeah, I own I own Mega Man X Legacy Collection on Switch, and I got the physical cartridge for that, but the physical cartridge only has the first half of the series on the cartridge. The second half of the series with X5 through X8 is download only. And I got that cartridge used, so I don't have Legacy Collection 2. I only have Legacy Collection 1. Now, admittedly, I may have actually dodged a bullet there, because Legacy Collection 1 has all the good games. X5 through X8 are various levels of not great. 1 through 4 are pretty damn good consistently.
Yeah. But physical releases often are either not functional or not complete, or there's various reasons why it's not really a good method of preservation.
Yeah.
But getting into more depth about it, I also want to say that I think the conceit in my mind is also a bit flawed, because physical media is subject to physical conditions. This shit can break. This shit can get lost. This shit can get recycled. This shit eventually will wither away into dust, And, I mean, we don't know what the lifespan of a Blu-ray disc is, but it's probably not forever,
Yeah, it can last a long-ass time, sure, but there's going to be a point where your Blu-ray disc is eventually going to start showing some signs of wear. I actually have one DVD that I have that, due to deterioration, is now completely unplayable, and that's my original Disney DVD for Castle in the Sky.
Yeah, a lot of old DVDs right now are going through disc rot, and Blu-rays are going to be a lot more protected from that, but eventually it's going to happen to them too. Maybe not in your lifetime, but it will. And that's going to happen in scale, and entire print runs of Blu-rays are going to wither away, and they're just not going to be operable anymore. And when that happens, they're going to need to be reprinted with new copies. And where are you going to get the data for that? You're going to get it from the digital side.
Yep.
So
digital media preservation is just as much of a thing as physical media preservation, though admittedly with digital media preservation, there are a lot more... Oh, God. there are more fail-safes that you have to put into effect in order to make sure that things don't actually get lost. Like, you can't focus, like, you can't rely on a single repository to preserve media. That's
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, though. A physical medium is only a single repository, if you think about it.
Yeah, but, like, admittedly, digital has its own issues. One example I can think of very clearly in my mind. This is more an anime thing than it is a video game thing, but...
Well, whatever. Preservation's preservation.
Yeah. So, back in the 1980s, Harmony Gold did a dub of the anime Magical Princess Minky Momo.
Hey, I fixed my chair.
Yay! But yeah, back in the 80s, Harmony Gold did a dub of the Minky Momo TV series. And...
is that the one where she dies horribly?
Yes! And...
That's a different rabbit hole.
That's a whole different thing. Oof. Go watch Kenny Lauderdale's video on the curse of Minky Momo. It's fun. But, yeah, Harmony Gold did a dub of that, but the dub was lost for a long time because it only ever aired once in Australia in first-run syndication, and off-air recordings of it were incredibly scarce and of like really low quality because it was the mid 80s and VHS tapes deteriorate like shit. But back in, I want to say like 2013, 2014, William Winkler Productions, which is an anime dubbing company that's been around since like the 70s. William Winkler Productions actually got the rights to Minky Momo, and they re-released Harmony Gold's English dub through Amazon Video as a series of compilation films. So a lot of people considered, oh, it's available to watch on Amazon, so it's been preserved. Except very few people actually bought the damn thing, and now it's inaccessible, and nobody that we know of actually has a copy of it. So it's lost again.
Well, see, okay, so here's my thing, though, is that, like, obviously, we can't depend on corporations to preserve media, because they don't give a shit about that.
Of course. It's
quantifiably
all profit margin.
Yeah, they have quantifiably shown over decades that they don't care. Yeah. So, this is where we get into, the preservation side of piracy, And I think I've talked to you before, but not on the show, about Team 6.8 before.
Offhandedly, yeah, but I don't remember it terribly well, so you're going to have to refresh my memory.
Team 6.8 is a preservation group for Switch that works closely with the homebrew and piracy scenes.
Right, okay, yeah.
And their whole modus operandi is raising funds and accepting donations to purchase everything that ever comes to the eShop, to preserve it on their archives and in various drives and states and such like that. And to me, that's what preservation actually looks like.
Yeah.
Is not relying on corporations to preserve culture and media, because they clearly don't give a shit. So when you say something like, nobody bought the thing on Amazon and then it was lost again when they lost the rights to it or whatever, I'm just thinking, man, if only someone bought that and then uploaded it to Nya or a service or servers or things like that, so then other people could download it to their hard drives and then share it around, and suddenly there's 1,000 digital copies of it, and the more digital copies there are of something, the harder it is to actually lose.
Yeah.
Because you're just making backup after backup after backup. And to me, that's what true preservation is. And physical media is just one. It's like having just one repository, and then that repository goes down. You're like, well, shit, we lost it. And to me, making such a big fuss about physical media in terms of preservation, if you like it, that's fine. I don't give a shit. It's fine.
Yeah.
But acting like it's a tentpole of media preservation, I don't get that in the modern era, especially for video games, because of this reason. Not only does it have these fundamental drawbacks of now being largely incomplete and sometimes even non-functional, but also it's just one repository that can easily go down sometime in the future. Again, maybe not in your lifetime, but maybe also kind of, like, maybe the discs won't rot in your lifetime or the cartridges won't fail in your lifetime, but they might become so scarce or inaccessible, especially these limited print runs, that like they might as well be, And for most people to access it, what are they going to need to turn to? Digital. They're going to need to turn to some kind of digital copy of the original, store versions or rips of the physical version or something of that nature. And so, to me, the future of media preservation is in, what's the word I'm looking like? Law ambivalent, legally ambivalent, efforts to conserve things in large digital archives and copy those things across multiple servers and fail safes and things like that. To me, that's what actual media preservation looks like. So when people make this, well, you gotta release it on physical because then it'll be preserved. To me, that's just the stupidest fucking argument.
Yeah, physical media is one part of preservation, but it's not the main source of preservation. Because physical media can fail just as well as, anything else. What the best way to preserve something at this point is to give it as many avenues of accessibility as possible, and to also ensure that even if, physical media fails, and even if, rights go out of print or something like that, you still have a way to watch it through other means, digitally, media share, file sharing, that sort of thing. That's physical media. That's preservation as well.
Yeah. I just don't think physical media is as useful in this process as people give it credit for in the modern era.
It used to be, but that's because digital media sharing
wasn't evolved. It didn't, it took half an hour to download one porn picture. You can't store a whole movie. You can't store a whole movie like that in file share. It doesn't work.
Yeah, but digital media has evolved to the point where it works just as well, if in some cases not better than physical media in terms of preservation.
Why do you think everybody wants everything ported, all these console exclusives ported to PC? It's because PC is the ultimate preservation platform because you have more control over it. Even if you want to house, BIOSes and ROMs and such to play on official hardware, you need a PC to do that.
Yep.
And you need PCs to hack into these consoles to allow that functionality when the official companies no longer support it.
And the benefit,
I think getting,
and
everyone's trying to
go ahead.
Everyone's trying to emulate every system that comes out for this exact reason, is so things are better preserved and they're more accessible, because eventually, you're not going to be able to find official hardware anymore. There's going to be a point, probably in the next 50 years or so, where it's going to be incredibly difficult to find a functional NES.
Yeah. I'm actually very glad that there are a couple of games on, Steam, for instance, that I bought that I'm glad that I did, because they're now delisted. One of them is Transformers Devastation. I fucking adore that game, and I got that on Steam, a month and a half before it got delisted. And I'm glad that I did, because even though it's delisted, I have it now. It's mine, and it's on my laptop. I can play it whenever I fucking want. The physical, the files are on my system. I have the game still. And if I wanted to, I could take those files and I could transfer them, and I can, keep the game accessible by just transferring the files over to different computers and to different, sharing sites. That's a thing.
That's what I cut out, and I forgot what my point was.
God damn it.
Honesty. It means so much to me. But yeah, I feel like, just in general, I remember now. People who don't hack their consoles, they don't engage in piracy. They don't I feel like they don't understand. They have this outdated physical media's king mindset about this, because they don't understand not only the failings of physical media, but also the mass preservation potential that digital media offers and is better suited to ultimately. And I think once I got into the hacking scenes and the piracy scenes, I started to understand that a lot better.
Yeah, because you have a cracked Switch, so
I have a hacked Switch, I have a hacked PS3, I have a hacked Vita, I have a hacked 3DS. You know, I'm a hacker man.
Hacker man.
Hacker. I'm in.
You are.
But like, you know, doing all that and seeing, you know, the actual preservation efforts that go on in these scenes, to me that's the true preservation. And all these people begging for physical releases on Twitter are using outdated information, and they're missing the point, and they haven't opened their third eyes as it is.
See, me personally, you know, I just want convenience, not necessarily preservation. Like, it would be really convenient if I had everything that I wanted to play on my Switch, and if it ran well. It would be really convenient if I had everything that I wanted on Steam to download and buy and play. Like, it would be really convenient.
Well, I would also like $10 billion and a harem of 72 virgins, Kevin, but we can't always get what we want.
Yeah, and I have accepted that. But, like, in terms of preservation, there is more that you can do than just asking for a physical media release. Like, fucking...
I don't think you should ask them anything, because they don't care, is the problem.
Yeah, like, friggin' no one friggin' relied on Lucasfilm to preserve the original theatrical versions of Star Wars. It's fans who were doing all that shit.
The only way to see that stuff is the pirate harmies or whatever.
Actually, there's a new version called each version has like a different name. The original movie is 4K 77, Empire Strikes Back is 4K 80, and Return of the Jedi is 4K 83, based on the years that they were released.
I feel like you've told me this like 6 times already, but I'm just going to keep saying harmies because that's iconic to me.
It is. But like, that's the best way to watch it now because they're based on like...
I get that, but yeah. we gotta give our man Harmy some credit here. He was the Chad that started this ball rolling.
Yeah, Harmy was ground zero for like a lot of the modern efforts for preserving the original trilogy of Star Wars as it was released back in the 70s and 80s. And you can't thank Lucasfilm for any of that. It was all fans. So you can't rely strictly on physical media in order to preserve that. The only physical media that actually has the original trilogy in its theatrical version is like really fucking low quality laser discs and DVDs, and the DVDs are sourced from the laser discs, so it's really just the laser discs.
Yeah, and who the fuck has a laserdisc player anymore?
I actually have the theatrical version DVD.
That was a rhetorical question.
No, I actually have the theatrical version DVD for Empire Strikes Back, and while I am very glad to have it,
it's a DVD.
Bruh, even for
if you look at it funny, it'll break.
Bruh, even by fucking DVD standards, it looks like shit.
Every time you think it might scratch, it gets 2 scratches just to spite you. God, I hate DVDs so much.
We've been over this.
I will keep saying it until they stop fucking printing them.
DVDs are an outdated format, I will admit. Now, you go further than I would by saying DVDs were always bad, but I disagree.
Kevin, I always go further than you do.
Well, of course. We wouldn't have an interesting, we wouldn't have interesting things to talk about if you didn't.
It's like Grump and Not So Grump, except it hates DVDs and hates DVDs more.
I have a love-hate, slightly more hate relationship with DVDs.
You have a toxic, problematic relationship with DVDs. I'm gonna cancel DVDs.
I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
DVDs have gaslit you, Kevin.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna girl boss my way to saving you.
Gatekeep, gaslight, girl boss.
That might be the title because I forgot what the first thing I said was.
I'll look through the fucking whatever. But
it was I think it was the Jared Leto thing.
It was. But
yeah. Anyway, that's my spiel about why I'm very annoyed that people beg for physical releases on Twitter.
And
tune in next time where I get annoyed at something else people say on Twitter.
Which happens a lot.
Well, it is the public forum, as it were.
We'll never have things to run out of to talk about.
You know, I imagine there was some scholar in the 14th century looked at the town bulletin board and was like, "Egads, ye village idiots have hast ridden vile on the board again." You know, stupid shits on the town cork board.
Now, what did the village idiot put on the message board today? It just says, "Dear Mayor," and there's a picture of a butt.
These Philistines don't understand my sophisticated cognitive faculties. If only I had an auditory record to demonstrate my apropos apprehensions of these detestable, delinquent retards.
God.
But now we can. We have the technology.
I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure 18th century people didn't use the word retards like that.
I said 14th century.
Even worse. I don't think that was even a
Or
thing.
better. Worse or better.
Worse.
But now we have the technology. We can gather around a virtual every week and make fun of all the stupid people in the world.
It's the beauty of technology. As it should be.
Yep, it's like it's like that song from Red and Link's Buddy System, where they decide that instead of fighting over roller skating, they can roller skate together and make fun of all the ice skaters together instead. You know, what is friendship if not just mocking the world together? You know,
that's a good philosophy.
That song has the line, "We'll herd them into ice skating camps and never let them go." And I just want people to acknowledge that Red and Link canonically support ice skater death camps.
The dads of the internet, ladies and gentlemen.
They have a surprisingly fucked up sense of humor outside of their normal show.
They do, though. Like, you look at the shit that they do outside of Good Mythical Morning, and like, it's kind of shocking how dark they go.
Yeah, but Buddy System Season 2 has some fucked up shit in it, just conceptually. It's all played for laughs, but there's some dark shit in there.
I believe Rhett and Link said at one point that the reason why Good Mythical Morning is as comparatively squeaky clean compared to everything else is because their kids watch it, and their kids are still, like, you know, in their preteen, young teenage phase, and they're trying to make sure that it's, at the very least, age appropriate for the age that their kids currently are. And as the show goes along, they feel like a little more comfortable, you know, getting to darker jokes and saying certain sexual things and whatever, like. But generally speaking, Good Mythical Morning is like, it's a show for families because they're family men and their families watch it, so. Yeah, but when they get outside of that into their own creative ventures, shit gets kind of weird. And we love it.
But I think that'll do it for this episode, Kevin.
I think that is a good place to stop.
Yep. This was our 50th episode, by the way.
Woo! Episode 50!
Only took us longer than we'd admit. But hopefully we'll reach the next milestone a lot faster now that we're doing this consistently.
Yeah, dude, our sister series, NTR Radio, reached episode 50 like 3 years ago.
They also started before us.
They did, admittedly, but even then, they do podcasts way more regularly than we ever have.
Yeah. Well, not anymore, Kevin. Things are changing.
Times,
and soon
they are changing.
Yep, we're gonna catch up and surpass them because they do podcasts every 2 weeks. We do podcasts every week.
Ish.
So eventually, you know, ish. But eventually, if we keep up the pace, Kevin, eventually we will overtake and surpass them.
We're on to you guys. Watch your back, Anubis.
Yeah. He's gonna be like, He's gonna be like, "Et tu, Brutus?" And I'm gonna be like, "Certainly."
Joke's on you, old man.
Your times. Future is now, old man. So, tune in for our eventual coup d'etat. I can't fucking talk. But until then, until that fateful day, you've been listening to the Baka Gaijin Show. He's been Kevin. I've been Zeke. You can find us on Twitter at ZekeFreak and at CCharmanderK. You can message us with your comments, questions, concerns, topic suggestions, and lewd fan art at bakagaijinshow@gmail.com. You can join the official Baka Gaijin Discord server in the link provided below. You can subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. And you can also sacrifice your soul to the devil if you feel so inclined. This has been the Baka Gaijin Show. I've been Zeke Freak. Signing off. Zeke Freak out. Ciao, ciao for now.